funny, yo. Which have you had him? Lamar Odom comes in. I'm doing this interview in there, and he's telling me all about substance abuse and stuff, but I'm still doing my thing on the side. And he's like, yo, Ak, what do you got in your cup? And we're having a good old time. He's talking about everything. He's giving me the stories of the stories. He's like, yo, I ran into this guy, like, yo, it almost went left. He's telling me everything. Yeah. And he's like, yo, Ak, yo, pour me up. And for a second, I was conflicted. Should I pour this guy?
Did you pour him up?
Of course. No.
He canceled on me 3 times last week.
Why?
Man, I went off on I called him Lamar Odom. Called him a crackhead. Like,
wait, why did he cancel?
The first time we paid him, and then like he canceled on us on 2 different occasions last minute. And we were going to pay him the other 2 times. And then we were approached a 3rd time because he had the podcast. And I'm like, I'll do it, but I'm not going to pay. Like, we'd already lost money on 2 different occasions. So if he wants to come promote his shit, he's going to have to do it free. No, it's cool. Everything cool, blah, blah. I said, all right. 1 hour before the interview, he's not going to make it. I'm like,
wow.
Fuck. So I hit up my man, and I'm like, what the fuck? He goes, yeah. He basically was like, well, Vlad paid me last time. Why would I come do it for free again? So I'm like, man, fuck this dude.
Wow, but that's where you get into a very interesting situation. By the way, welcome to another episode of Off the Record Podcast. I am here with the godfather of new media, one of the OGs who helped usher me into the game. You know, one of the first people that showed me love unilaterally. He always put his hand around me, always gave me good advice, always looked out for me. We've had a really cordial and friendly relationships. And I'm glad that this continues. Yeah. And in 2024, I'm glad that when I look around at the people who are winning, I still see some of the people that, you know, of course, I looked up to and I wanted to be among their realm. So, Vlad, thank you for being here, my brother.
Thank you, man. What an intro, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to give you a fire intro. I mean, I feel like every time I'm trying to get better and better with giving you an intro because, you know, I feel like in media, like we're in an interesting space. We're going to get back to that, though, real quick. Because we were talking about something right before. I think you have changed the media game in so many ways. One of the ways you've changed it is you incentivized people who do great interviews. And actually, you've probably incentivized guys who maybe they have nothing else going on but being able to give dope stories and be entertaining on camera. Mm-hmm. And now, I hear Charleston White or I hear these other guys are like, yo, I charge this an interview. This is what I charge. And then like an interview is now a thing in terms of getting paid as an interviewee. Yeah. Break that down because I do think you changed the game. And I thought for a second, I'm like, is this for the better or for the worse?
Well, this started happening around during the pandemic where things got tight initially, right? And it was harder to film and everything else like that. And we've always had regular guests, and we had never paid regular guests because there's this whole stigma of, oh, you know, interviews should be paid and whatever else. But we started looking at the situation and was like, all right, how do we get people consistently coming back and not canceling? Because as you know, cancellations happen a lot, especially in the hip hop. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In the hip hop industry where you confirmed everything the day of, you prepared, you researched, you got a staff, you got a location, and then they just like, I can't make it. So you lose money in that regard. So we start thinking like, well, what if we just start paying our regular guests? And that'll create more of a, you know, a safety net of them showing up because now they have an incentive, a financial incentive to do it. So we started paying some of our regular guests, like Lunel was one of the first ones. You know, I mean, she was kind of going through it at the time. You know, we had talked about this on camera. And it was like, yeah, like let's pay her and also pay her to start doing interviews for us and stuff like that. And it was like, it ended up being a good effect because ultimately it just comes down to a business decision. Like me and Birdman had a conversation about this. He was like, yo, like you're the first one to do this. Like you created
No, you did.
business.
No, you changed the game.
You created a business where there wasn't one to begin with. And it's like, look, like if I'm making, let's say $10,000 off a particular interview, why not, you know, give the person a few thousand and still have a profit? You know what I mean? Because there is a production cost. There's a time cost. There's an overhead cost. So it's not like if we make $10,000, we can pay the person $10,000. Like there has to be, you know, a profit.
Yeah, but like I could give you $2,000.
Yeah,
right?
I give you 2,000. I'm gonna make
2,500.
10.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost me maybe 3. To put it together, so there's a $5,000 profit. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody wins. So we started doing that, and it actually started to work out. And we noticed that we could start bringing people back more often because now there's a, you know what I'm saying? It's not like a favor anymore. It's like, oh, you the homie, come do this, or okay, like it's I still do lots of barters, like me and you. Like I'll do your show, you do my show.
Well, I don't even look at it like that. I was looking at it like you're my man. Yeah. So, it's like, again.
No money. What I'm saying is that no money has ever changed hands.
All right, yeah. I don't look at it as an exchange at all.
Not really exchange, but what I'm saying is that me and you have we both have
I would never open my mouth to be like, yo, give me this. And I know you wouldn't either. And I know when I need you.
But we're also financially well off.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And not everyone is in that situation. For some people, a couple $1,000s helps them out that month. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I realized also, and I hate to cut you off, for the people who are watching, by the way, I'm now close on the list to Noria in cutting people off. They said I've been cutting people off like crazy. But I do want to say this. The only time I've ever been a part of like an interview, or the first time where like someone was paid, was Complex Con, when Complex paid the Game for an interview. And we were trying to get the Game on for so long on the show. We even went to LA like before for like a week trying to get him on, couldn't get him on. They paid him, okay? Who cares how much they paid him? He came in there and gave it up. When I mean gave it up,
right?
When people are incentivized by money, you get the best out of them, right?
Exactly, because they're being paid. Listen, I've been paid for interviews.
Yeah.
People have interviewed me and have paid me to sit down. I'm thinking like, I've probably gotten as many Mixtape of the Year awards and international tours that I did. I probably got paid 4 times higher for my interview than I did for any of my DJ gigs.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Just to sit there and talk and answer questions, not have to prepare, perform, bring all my equipment, etc., fly somewhere. I just go, sit down, let them ask their questions, get my check and leave. So it's kind of started out with a regular guest, and then it just started turning into more of a, there's certain people that, won't do an interview unless there's an appearance fee. Just like booking someone at your events, we would sometimes go through the same management companies or the same, booking agencies where it's like, hey, we want to book this person, but not for an appearance or speech, but for an actual interview. And they're like, oh, okay. And certain people, based on where they are in their life, unless you have a close friendship with them already, that's your homie, they're not just going to get out of bed and drive somewhere and tell their story over again for free. So like a lot of athletes, like older athletes and everything else like that, they were like that. Like, Pete Rose, like he still has to go and do autograph signings and stuff like that. Financially, he's not where he should be because he never got into the Hall of Fame or whatever else. And I remember doing the interview, I was like, yeah, because you're rich. He's like, if I was rich, do you think I'd be sitting here doing interviews with you?
Really?
He said it just like that.
Damn.
He really needed the money. So for him, it's like a business. So our thing is like, if we're making a profit and we're making revenue and we own the footage and we could reuse it later on potentially and so forth, why not look at it as just a straight business decision? If I can make 10 and I can pay the person 5 and after my production there's still a profit, let's do it. It's a good business decision.
Let me ask you, so how do you make that it's like a cost risk analysis where it's like, I'm pretty sure you're not giving everybody a check, right? Because that's another thing too. Everyone's like, there's a now thing like, oh, Vlad is cutting a check. And I'm like, nah, you better have a good fucking story or be a good fucking interview.
Lots of people, some people have gotten checks before, don't get checks anymore because the industry has changed. The views are a little bit different and there's more competition.
How do you figure that out?
You can eyeball it. Well, see, here's the thing. Like people kind of laughed at me when I said this in my Martin Shkreli interview, but like Vlad TV is like, I consider it as much of a tech company as it is a media company.
You've always said that to me.
I've easily spent over $1 million on the back end of Vlad TV. The way that we are able to put out 10 clips a day with a small team of people, big companies can't do that. We've established a system of checks and balances where a team can work together and they don't step on each other's toes. I used to just email stuff to my staff and it would always get messed up. So we built a system, and part of the system that we built maybe about a year ago was a profit and loss system into our back end, where it basically lists all the interviews we've done. It has all the costs, including any appearance fees, studio, cameraman, whatever else. And then it actually calculates the YouTube revenue, the Facebook revenue, the Snapchat revenue, the Spotify revenue. And then it kind of creates, at the very end, it kind of creates, the total. Is it in the red or is it in the black? And if it's in the black, how much is it? Is it in the black? And then you could sit there and, if it's a repeat guest, I could search by, let's say, your name and see, along with the views and everything else.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You got it like that?
I got it like that.
Wow.
So it's like, here's all the views. Here's what it did last time. Here's what it did the time before. Here's what it did the time before. You could look at it and you just, you estimate. If a person did 5 million views last time, he'll probably do close to that this time.
Yeah.
And, sometimes people just ask, I want 25,000. There's no way I can make that back.
Yeah.
That's probably like 5 million views combined, which you'll never get. So it's not a conversation. And that's what it is. I mean, it's not an exact science. You got to eyeball it, and there's been lots of times where we've overpaid people and taken a loss. It's not really even their fault. Antonio Brown, we overpaid him and we took a little bit of a loss. It wasn't a huge loss. But
wait, did he do that? I thought he didn't do that ever.
He did it, but then he ended up doing it like last year.
Oh, okay.
Fine. We paid him. It wasn't as much as how much he was going to get paid, but he also wasn't as hot at that time as he was right after he walked off the field.
Yeah, all right. We
lost a little bit of money, not a lot of money, but okay, we overpaid a little bit. There were other interviews he did at the time that I didn't know that he was doing, so there was competition in that regard. So you never really know, but most times we profit.
Yeah, I'm not fully fully committed to that formula of hey, for example, I'll give you two people's, right? So I'm doing all the Philly artists, and then I believe I won't mention his name because I don't want people go spam, but an artist who's very popular in the day, one of the Philly artists, they're like, yo, everyone's like, yo, you should talk to him. And then, I think he even said yo, shit, I act doing these interviews, you gotta talk to me. And I hit him up, I'm like, yo, let's do the interview when we should do it. He's like, you pay a fee? And I was just like, wait, what are we talking about here? I thought this was right at that moment, I thought the mutual benefit was that I'm giving this, right now, me and Meek Mill are going at it. They're wondering what I'm going to say. I'm doing a nice petty thing, but it's going to work for you guys in your benefit. I'm going to shine the light on other people in Philadelphia who have stories to tell. And once I heard that, I was like, you know who else did that with me? And I never did an interview with him because of that? Adrian Broner. He was just like, yo, bro,
I've done Broner before. I think I paid him, yeah. I gave him some money.
Well, here's the thing. I know he's been to court, but I've always thought those court things were performative. When he was you only got $20 in my pocket. It felt odd that he was asking me for money for an interview. I'm like, bro, this is all, I'm looking at it like this. This is all promotion for your next fight. Mm-hmm. People are going to buy pay-per-views. It's like an artist selling a single. We're giving you press and publicity that's going to lead into the actual product you're selling. You're not selling, it's not like you're a retired boxer. You're an active boxer. And when he said that, I was just like, oh, no. And I don't know, maybe I should have paid him because I don't even think he wanted that much. But it was just I thought these guys were bro, he's making $10 million a fight. I thought he was.
He also has expenses. He has a lot of kids.
Does he?
Yeah, I believe he's got a number of kids. Probably likes to drive around Rolls Royces. Probably lives in a big house that he may not, own outright. He doesn't fly coach. Probably flies private sometimes. That adds up very quickly. Especially when you don't have a stream of income. Someone like Adrian Broner, they get a bunch of money every 1 or 2 years. They got to stretch it out unless they're investing it, which he may or may not be doing. I don't know. But even if you're investing it, you still can't touch it, right? It's not like it's bringing in a stream of income. It's different than me and you that are getting a check every month from these various streaming platforms. So, I don't mind paying, but not everyone gets paid. And at the end of the day, if you're on a promo run promoting something, I'm probably not going to pay you because you are actually promoting something. You're going to get something out of this. But at the end of the day, it's all a conversation.
No, I've realized just how, like, even, and again, I love how I feel like independent media is just so ramping up. I love watching PBD, Patrick Bet-David, which by the way you have on your podcast. Yeah. And he has a brilliant platform. And he was going to have an interview with a very popular online personality, Tim Pool. Tim Pool told him, hey, listen, I'm down to do it was going to be a debate. He says, but the day I have to come, I'm going to have to probably miss my show. The travel and the turnaround time is going to be these amount of days. I'm going to have to miss 2 to 3 days of my show, this, that, and third. Hey, I'll do it, but you got to send me a private jet. And I'm going to be honest with you, when the details was leaked, I think everyone was just like, yo, this is entitled fuck. Like, what the hell? You're asking for a private jet? And then I think Tim Pool kind of responded to it, was like, hey, listen, we didn't say that you had to do this. We're telling you how this would make it work because we do know this was going to be a huge event for you. And we weren't just trying to sacrifice our business just to make you some money. And then I looked at it kind of a little bit different. Yeah, because it kind of got to be mutual, right?
I mean, if you're on YouTube and Spotify, it's hard to make back private jet money. Unless you're talking about a mega. No,
it was going to be him debating. I forgot who it was. It would have probably pulled 85. They were going to do it live and, of course, clip it up after. It was going to have like 85, 100,000 people watching. 100%. It was going to be a huge thing.
I don't know what that translates into money in terms of people watching.
Well,
I know how 1 million streams will get.
Okay, that would be probably after they've done doing the clips and the main episode, also the live. It's going to do 15, 20 million.
Okay. So 10 million.
There's no appearance fee, but you got to pay the cost up to get them there.
Yeah, so maybe you might make 100,000 off that. So if you pay 30,000 for the flight, you know what I'm saying? You got a $70,000 profit, whatever, $60,000 profit, $50,000 profit. Yeah, it might make sense. We've flown a lot of people out. I mean, we started to notice that if we film someone, because, you know, I'm not on camera, so I have the option of doing remote interviews.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times, you know, if we film someone, let's say in Miami, and the studio cost me this much, the camera person cost me this much because they're not on staff, and we're doing it remotely, so it's not quite as impactful because we're not in the same room, I could fly the person out and actually save money. And just even fly them out, put them in a hotel, cover the transportation back and forth. Sometimes they'll go back the same day. Sometimes they'll go back the next day. It'll be cheaper or about the same as doing it remotely, so we start doing that more often. But it's, you know, once you get into first class flights and whatever else, like someone asked me private, for me, I couldn't do it. But, you know, we could potentially fly someone first class if they're a big guest. You know, sometimes these are big people also, like, you know what I mean?
Does that, and I guess it goes into this next thing, and it's the last part I want to talk about, this part of, you know, our business is like, does it mess it up for you when, you know, once the word is that Vlad pays, you have the artist who thinks he's hot, but he's not hot. Yeah. He's like, yo, I'm not doing that shit. Like somebody just told Adam, it was just like, yeah, I'll do an interview with you, 10,000. You know what I mean? Then Adam posted the same dude doing another interview, got 50,000 views.
Right. No, people are delusional sometimes. People think their story is worth more than it's worth. Sometimes people literally have died trying to stick to an amount. And a lot of times you also have this, right? This has been a lot of times this has happened to me where you're talking to a person, and you know it's an interesting story, and you're even like, hey, I could pay you whatever else. And they're like, no, I'm working with this company who's doing a documentary on me. A year, 2 years, 3 years later, they're still working on this documentary that's not coming out. That's not even really in pre-production. But the people are telling them to hold off because this will be on Netflix and you're going to get a whatever, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever else. So they hold on to this story because there's a carrot being dangled in front of them. And sometimes that carrot never shows up or the person dies while still waiting for this carrot, you know, because sometimes these are older people. So it's, you know, it's all business at the end of the day. If your thing is I never pay for interviews, no matter what, whatever.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't.
Then it's like, okay, but that's your choice. You're going to miss out on certain interviews that someone else will pay for.
100%.
A person will do a smaller platform for a check as opposed to doing it for you, that it's a bigger platform for a look. That's just life. And you could sit there and say, oh, these are principles, and that's okay. You could do those principles. When I did Drink Champs, I didn't charge them. I don't know if they pay anybody. It's not my business. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. Whatever. I wouldn't charge them. If I do Breakfast Club, I'm not going to ask for money. If I do your show, I'm not going to ask for money. If I do Adam's show, I'm not going to ask for money. If I do Matt Hoffa's show, I don't ask for money. You know what I'm saying? But there's usually an inferred of like, hey, if I ever reach out to you,
of course,
try to return the favor if possible, even though I'm not doing it just to do that. But it's like, hey, if I ever need you for something, and I've always been, my thing is, if you've done my show, I'll do your show for free. You know what I'm saying as well? Like, even if it's a small podcast.
You've always, and I know, like, you're not saying that for me, but when I look at it, when I like to be on Vlad TV, but I like to be, and maybe it's the competitor in me. I want to have the biggest interview at the time on Vlad TV.
Right.
You get what I mean?
You usually do.
And I like to have the most relevant. And here's the thing. But I look at it in the usual core essence of why people do interviews. I like when there's a relevant cultural topic happening and people are saying, we want to hear academics, and we know Vlad is such a huge platform, he's there, right? So it's like, I like being there because also here's the thing too, for me, I don't like doing many platforms other than my own. I'll always do yours. I'll do Adam's. Like, there's a very few select ones I'll do, but here's the point. I also know when I'm on my own platform and when I'm on your platform, I'm reaching different people.
Yeah.
And I like to get on your platform, dominate that in terms of like, okay, cool. We're going viral right now. Mm-hmm. We're fucking knocking these tops out the park, and I'm hitting, because you have a slightly different audience than mine, which I appreciate.
I have a slightly older audience.
Yeah.
I'm slightly older. I'll be 51 in like a week. So yeah. And when I do your show, I get a younger audience.
Yeah, of course. Let's hit a few relevant topics. Okay. I do have a bunch of topics to get to with you. First and foremost, I heard the rumors. The rumors is out, people. The rumors, which actually I haven't verified yet, but actually I kind of did verify because I seen a news report. Apparently, Keffe D has secured a $750,000 bond that was paid by Vlad TV.
It's paid by WAC 100.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, Keffe D, who was now charged with the murder of Tupac Shakur,
his involvement.
His involvement. He's locked up. And now he's gotten a bond that seemingly was, at first I was hearing it was $1 million, then it was like $750,000. Yeah. But apparently he has now gotten that amount secured, and he will be released subsequently. Maybe on house arrest, we don't know yet.
Me and Wack talked about this. He was talking about doing it. I had heard that he did it. I'm not 100% sure.
Would you ever do something like that?
I'm sorry?
Would you ever do something like that in terms of, I feel like you're a businessman. You do deals.
Yeah, I mean, it was an idea, but it was like, I've already kind of gotten the interviews that I want to do with Keffe. So me doing that, I don't see me myself having an actual financial benefit. So,
well, you don't think that maybe, I know for Wack, he was talking about the benefit, maybe a documentary or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what he's going to do. So he had to put up $75,000, and the rest was a bail bondsman. So it's a $75,000 investment that he'll lose, and then hopefully he'll make that back with content. Keffe D, there's probably some sort of contract in place. That's what I'm thinking. And I think he mentioned that in my interview.
But what about, and you're one of the greatest people in media in almost cataloging stories that maybe this will pop up later and be very important.
Right.
Don't you think at this juncture, and you've done interviews with him, but right now we would just like to hear Keffe D speak on Diddy. That could be
something. I mean,
right?
It's not 75,000 something, but it's something.
You could probably milk it for a few, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, listen, Wack has done well financially. He in terms of his business deals. I'm sure he's thought it through carefully. He feels it's a good investment, whether he put up the money himself or whether he got an investor. Who knows? And Keffe D will be out. He's happy. He couldn't come up with the money himself, it seems. And I think it's probably a win-win situation for everybody. He'll get to sit. I believe the trial's in November. So he'll get to June, July, August, September, October, November. For 5 months, he'll get to sit at home and relax as opposed to being in a jail cell.
Predictions on that trial. What do you think's going to happen?
I mean, I think that Keffe, based on his lawyer, I saw an interview with his lawyer in Las Vegas. Their defense is that Keffe wasn't actually there in Vegas. He made the whole thing up to get out of a criminal case and then to make some money afterwards. It'll hinge on that. If they can prove that he was in Las Vegas, then he's probably going to be found guilty. If they could bring up a reasonable doubt that he wasn't even there, this is where the Foxy Brown thing comes in, right? Because in the book, and I actually brought this up in my interview, and he kind of danced around the subject a little bit. In the book, after Orlando got jumped, they went and hooked up with Eric Von Zip. And Eric Von Zip was hanging out with Foxy Brown, and Zip gave them the gun, which they used to kill Tupac. So Foxy, if she gets on the stand and says, yes, I was with Zip, they handed over the gun to Keffe D, who's sitting right there, then Keffe's cooked. But Foxy's probably not going to take the stand.
But wouldn't that also, if you're Keffe D, then try to, okay, I might be cooked, but I'm going to throw it on this was a murder for hire. Hey, yeah, they gave me the gun. The reason why they gave me the gun, that guy was a middleman through
actually, and
Diddy.
what's interesting is that Roger Bonds mentioned that Zip was actually dating Puffy's mother.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Really?
Yeah. He knew Puffy's dad. They were like in the streets together, I guess. But at the time, I believe at the time, I'm not sure about the time, but at some point, Zip and Puffy's mom were a couple.
Wow.
Remember Puffy's dad got killed a while ago.
Yeah. Now, when you see this happen, right, and obviously there is a potential that they might be like, hey, you know, they might try to subpoena some footage from Keffe D. How are you going to deal with that? And do you know, because you've dealt with Keffe D, maybe just through business in terms of interviewing him, are you hoping there's a particular outcome or not? And what do you think about if they ask you for like, yo, Vlad, we need the BTS, okay?
They've already tried it. I have a dozen messages on my phone from Las Vegas PD asking for my raw footage, and I'm not cooperating.
Really?
I just didn't respond. Not cooperate, I just didn't respond.
Wow.
They would have to subpoena my footage, and then I would be able to fight it and say, since I'm the press, I don't have to provide anything. If they do call me to the stand and I'm forced to take the stand, I'm probably going to be a hostile witness. I'm going to just say, I don't know. I don't remember. I haven't looked at the footage in a while, which I haven't. So it's like, y'all can ask me a bunch of random questions. You know, I don't want Keffe D to serve the rest of his life in prison. That was never my intention, which is why I'm not cooperating with the police. Like, my whole thing was...
Yeah, some people, like for example, when Patrick Bet-David interviewed Sugar or anyone else around that, he clearly says he loved Tupac so much that that's one of the reasons, even when he talks about Diddy, he doesn't like him. He feels like there was something behind that resulted in. And so he has like a axe to grind. You're saying you're not interviewing these guys and like, okay, hopefully I could trip you up that there's a detective somewhere.
No, that's not me. And actually, I don't know if you guys ever saw the documentary The Jinx on HBO. This guy named Robert Durst. He had killed 3 people and gotten away with it. He even beat one of the case. He chopped up the body of the second guy, and he beat that case in trial. He's worth like $100 million. He's a part of a big real estate family from New York. And he decides to do an interview like in the 70s with these filmmakers that did a film kind of loosely based around some of his situations. And then he keeps a hot mic on him, and he goes to the bathroom, and he says, yeah, I killed them all. And then they use that to then arrest him and then charge and convict him.
Really? Wait, hold on. What's the name of this?
Robert Durst. It's called The Jinx. They actually have the Jinx Part 2. The first Jinx was when he actually got caught up. And it came out, and basically the authorities were basically ready to arrest him as soon as that aired. You know what I'm saying? So
how did they get that audio?
The filmmakers gave it to him, which I thought was grimy. Because this guy sat down, did an interview for you. You made a documentary out of the interview. You made money, whatever else was on HBO. Then you turn around and give them audio. You could take the audio and give it to the authorities to help convict the person who you interviewed. And also, when they played the audio of him in the bathroom kind of talking to himself, they played it in a different order to make it sound worse than it really was. See what I'm saying? So I thought that was grimy. Like I wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like
keep it 100, Vlad. If you interviewed OJ before he died, and OJ goes to take a piss, your guy forgets to hit the mic off, which they usually do.
Well,
right?
I'll do you one better. I know where you're going with this. When Keffe D was doing our first interview, his co-writer was there with him, the guy who wrote the book.
Okay.
With him, right? They wanted to go outside for a second. As they're going outside, my cameraman looks at me and said, "The mic's still on," and I said to turn off the mic, to turn off the recorder, because I didn't want that. And I'm sure they probably said some shit outside that they don't want out. But I told
my bro, don't tell him that you really did this.
I told my cameraman to turn it off because I didn't even want it in my possession. Because my whole thing is, when you sit down with me, I want you to feel like, you know, you could trust me in the regard that I'm not going to sit there and try to
like set you up
or whatever else. You know you're being recorded when you do a Vlad TV interview. You're wearing a wire that you put up your own shirt.
Have you ever put out a secret record or a recording that maybe the person was unaware of?
No.
For any reason?
No.
Okay, that's dope.
And
that's
in
dope.
fact, a lot, like for example, when I did, Lunel did it on our platform. She interviewed Tiffany Haddish, and there was a very traumatic part of that interview that they talked about. And Tiffany called me and said, "Can you please not run that?" And I said, "Sure, I got you." So that footage has never seen the light of day.
Really? You know what? I was talking to Adam. So when Adam came in here, and I was talking about like just certain interviews that just never seen the light of day. Yeah. Like for example, Jaquise come in here and like right after like the whole Trey Songz thing, he said whatever, but it was a little bit too honest. And I knew sometimes as the interview you know what this is gonna do. Like he says some stuff that I'm like, yo, your girl is gonna be on TMZ beating you up as you run out the house because you're like wilding in this interview. I go up to Utah, which this is one that Adam was like, how could you not put this out?
NBA YoungBoy one?
Yeah. And I go up there and he pretty much tells me, he says, "Listen, I trust you. I do want to tell you why I was mad at like Gilly and Wallow for them putting out footage. I have really strict rules here. And yeah, it might have been frustrating because they didn't get the footage they wanted, so they went with some footage. But if the feds look at that, there's things in there that could get me jammed up." Yeah. And I recorded things around him. Shit, we recorded stuff because I had a cameraman with me. And, you know, he was untrustworthy of a lot of stuff. Like, he knows me, he doesn't know my cameraman. Yeah. And we went through and deleted stuff in front of him, right? Okay, so now we have footage, and we still have footage. But he says, "Listen, I'm not trying to fuck up your whatever integrity as like a media," but he says, "Tell me before you put it out." He says, shake with me as men that we could both review the footage and it'd be something you'll put out. I'm gonna be honest with you. I won't be the person to sit here and say everyone that walks into this room I would say that way, because sometimes people come in here and they'll say some shit and it's not like necessarily like criminal, nothing like that, but these people are trying to have a PR interview, right? So they don't want anything that is remotely real to be in the interview. Those people might be like, "Yeah, I'm not taking that out." But for someone on federal house arrest that invites you into their space, going up there, like the dude it's the craziest thing ever. I would have felt so shitty if they were like, "Hey, listen, U.S. Exhibit 1 is this Akademiks video that he put out that you're breaking our rules." I would feel so shitty. Yeah. And I still haven't published that yet. I know he'll get out of the situation. I have footage. We'll put it out some other time. I'm glad you're like that too. Like you're not like footage hungry type shit.
There has to be more footage at one point, and the relationship is usually more important than whatever the footage is. You know, and the other day we're not here to jam anybody up. Like the only time that I'm aware that our footage was used in a trial is probably going to be this Keffe D case. Even that, I'm not totally sure if it's going to be used because there's no trial yet. But that was the only time I talked about an open case, but that was because he already wrote the book. And he already talked about it. He wrote a damn book. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to write a book, then it's already out there. Then okay, let's talk about what's in the book. That was the only time I ever did that.
Yeah. they had in the YSL case, they're like, hey, for the state DA says, hey, we want to introduce some videos or recap videos, commentary videos that years ago Akademiks did about the Young Thug and Birdman and Wayne Bush shooting that goes into this YSL conspiracy. And the judge looks at them and says, who's this video from? They say it's from DJ Akademiks. The judge says, you've already entered like 400 things in evidence. This is like more things to try to enter in evidence. I'll consider it if you get this guy to possibly come in. And this is everything's recorded. Like you can watch it every day there. So everyone's hitting me. Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna? And I'm like, I want no fucking parts of this thing. Like I want no parts. And also, that was a reflection about the DA's office because I was a person that never been to the vicinities that Young Thug was frequenting in my bedroom in New Jersey, making a video that really I don't really have context to. Why the fuck would you want me to come in there?
Yeah, I mean, they're grasping at strings, basically.
Yeah, no, of course. What do you think about that case?
I think it's a train wreck. I think it's a train wreck, and I think if I were to guess, I would guess that Young Thug will probably be found guilty, but then he might get off on appeal.
I said that.
I feel like they're preparing more for the appeal.
Thank you.
More so than this case, because this case is so messy on so many different levels.
Vlad, they've been getting at me recently. So after this Tory thing, I also had Lord for Workers, Mo, come in here, and I interviewed him.
I interviewed him before. And
he said one of the most impactful things to me because I was covering the Tory Lanez trial. You've always had your thoughts about it. Mm-hmm. But when I interviewed him, he said, if I had one regret is that I was in court and I saw the moment where I was just like, fuck, Tory's probably going to get found guilty. And he said, when I walked out of the court and I was making these videos, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, I was one of the people who are going off everything you said. So we're like, yo, Tory's beating the case. Yeah, and it happened.
Yeah, Mo, and I've interviewed Mo before. And the thing about Mo, and I like Mo, right? Mo Gangat, is that if you talk to him, his long-term goals is to be a criminal defense attorney, right? For high-profile clients like rappers and stuff like that. So I think whenever you ask him about any sort of case with a rapper, which is what we do for a living, he's always going to be like, they're innocent, what proof, they can never prove this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel that sometimes he sort of overdoes that, in my opinion, to the point of not really looking at it logically sometimes or legally. Like I said, yeah, this whole thing, like Tory's going to get off, Tory's going to get off, Tory's going to get off, Tory's going to get off. You look at Megan the reporter who's sitting in the same case, she's like, Tory's going to get found guilty, Tory's going to found guilty, Tory's going to found guilty.
They were saying things different night and day.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
And Megan was right.
Yeah, right? I thought she was coming from like a feminist, very liberal,
she was
progressive.
Looking at the actual, the whole jury agreed with her.
No, I agree.
Right? So obviously you could say whatever, but it's a jury of men and women.
That's when I realized, I think us here as media, and this is why they're mad at me for the Young Thug case right now, because they want me to say, like, of course this trial is a shit show, but they want me to say that Young Thug is coming home in 3 months. That's what and basically this was my response to everyone. I said, listen, I covered this Tory thing, and I even feel shitty for making people feel like they had zero case and that Tory was gonna walk.
Well, you have a personal relationship with him. You're friends with him.
Yeah, and I'm also friends with him.
Yeah,
but also,
I'm use the studio, like you guys have business and personal stuff like that. So
and people were so let down.
I'm not going to talk bad about Boosie.
No, but
I'm going to say Boosie's going to get free.
But it wasn't necessarily just about that. It was like I was analyzing the case. Like, for example, now with the Young Thug case, I'm like, and I told everyone, because they're like, look, they're messing up. And I said, bro, here's the thing. It doesn't seem like this isn't a Trump case. It doesn't seem like another court is going to step in to figure out if the judge is unfair or the prosecutor is doing things incorrectly. It feels like it's going to go to conclusion. Yeah. And if this goes to conclusion, it doesn't matter how many motions to mistrial that y'all raised, the same judge is going to say denied. Yeah. You're going to ask him to get off the case. He's going to say no. If it goes to conclusion like this, most likely Young Thug will be found guilty.
Yeah.
Most likely he will have to go through the appellate process.
Right.
Most likely that would be years, probably 3 to 5 years. And
Maybe, possibly. Maybe 1 or 2 if he's lucky.
Fulton County is stacked with cases.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, they have to go to the Supreme Court of Georgia. And 3 judges are going to have to say that something the judge did affected the case to the point where you have to do a retrial.
Okay. And even then...
And then they have the opportunity to do the case all over again. So
just being realistic, and it's me learning from the Tory thing. I love the fans that watch me, but I'm not here to give you and coddle you. Like when I'm covering the YNW Melly case, they want me to just say, "Oh, Melly's beating this shit." Like, no, this shit doesn't look good. Like, they have all type of DNA. They're like, I've never seen more science and forensics done on a case than this. But fans kind of, when you're covering cases, that's what I realized. They want you to say, no, of course Tory's going to beat this.
Yeah, no, on social media, Tory was definitely the winner.
You were being seen as a hater. They were like, yo, Vlad is...
Who was right?
Vlad want to see the black man in jail. You know, Vlad is a cop, you know?
Right. No, but we're also talking about a black woman, right? So do I want to see a black man in jail, or am I standing up for a black woman who got shot? How do you want to look at it? Because it's all the same situation, right? In this particular case, I felt that based on all the evidence that I saw, everything she said, the fact that, what's the name of the girl who testified? Kelsey, I felt there was clear witness tampering. She couldn't remember who paid for a lawyer. You paid for lawyers, right?
Of course.
Do you ever forget who pays for them?
Hey, Vlad.
Do you ever forget? Because lawyers are expensive.
Vlad, I'm sitting with my banker, and I have my face is just like, they could see it in my eyes.
Yes.
And I'm telling them, wire this to this, wire this to this. And they're like, yo, is everything good? Like, are you having a good day? I said, nothing is good about today. I'm wiring out my earnings to fucking attorneys.
Exactly. You know exactly how much you pay for lawyers, and you know who pays for it. They'll never admit it, but clearly Tory was paying for Kelsey's lawyers. And clearly the jury saw through it. She changed her whole entire testimony. They had to play her original testimony to the court.
By the way, the same thing's happened in the YSL trial. Everyone thinks that the guy is outsmarting the state. He's like, I don't remember. Oh, I lied to the investigators. You know what the investigators now said? Hey, by the way, since he told a different story to the investigators, I think we should be able to play the original story. Right? And basically they're threatening this guy, saying, hey, listen, you're probably gonna get jailed as well. Everybody in that case just really believes that there's no way to prove it. And I hate to just break it to the Young Thug fans. I'm not going to be a part of that delusion. In media, here's the thing. In media, it does serve my benefit to lie to you, because I'm serving fans, the people who are, think about it. If I'm covering the YSL case, who gives a fuck about the YSL case?
Rap fans.
Rap fans who like Young Thug.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the haters of Young Thug just watching every day. It's going to be the people who I want him to get out to give us music. Yeah. So you know what I could do and line my pockets with cash? Let me keep dangling the carrot. Hey, it's not looking good for the DA. Looks like the case is crumbling at any minute now. Yeah. Young Thug right now, look at his demeanor in court.
Plea deal, time served.
Yeah, look at his demeanor in court. Look like he's ready to walk free any day.
Man, I feel like, listen, I would rather be right than popular. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. I'd rather be right than popular. I agree. You can call me a hater all you want. Tory DM me, try to pick my brain, figure out what I know. I told him what I know is what everyone else knows, and it's clear what's happening. Right? And I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. He was found guilty unanimously. I was right. I'm not a hater. I was just right. It brings me no joy to see Tory in a cell right now. You know what I'm saying? It does bring me a little bit of joy that Megan had some level of justice, because she really did get shot. And at the end of the day, no matter how you want to slice it, every jury wants to hear from the accused. And by you choosing not to take the stand, you are lessening your chances of winning. Now, you could say it's not your job to take the stand. You just have to prove reasonable doubt. You don't have to prove that you're innocent. You just have to prove a reasonable doubt. And that's absolutely true. But when you choose not to take the stand, the jury will already think that you did it.
I was surprised.
Am I right?
Yeah, listen. I was one of the people who challenged you on that. I was like, I've always heard the defendant, the client, should never take the stand in those cases.
That's not true.
You said
case by case.
You said the moment that Tory's star witness basically flipped and started being the star witness for the prosecutor, he said the defense should have never rested without calling Tory or fighting tooth and nail to get that bodyguard on the stand.
Exactly.
Which the judge said we could get the driver on the stand, but we're going to need over a week and we're going to go through the holidays.
Tory's own lawyer said no, that's okay. We'll skip it. And Tory's not taking the stand. We rest. Get to the verdict. Tory's not taking the stand. If I did not shoot Megan, if I know 100% I did not shoot her, I don't care if my lawyer tells me not to take the stand. I am going to take the stand. And you can cross-examine me and I'll tell you the same story, which is the truth, over and over and over and over again. I didn't shoot her. If Kelsey was the shooter, and she may have also been the shooter, you know what I'm saying? Because they both had gun residue on their hands. Yes, this happened. A fight broke out. I was fucking, Kelsey, and it was found out that I was fucking Megan behind her back. Kelsey got upset. Both these women are bigger than me. Tory's 5'3". Tory's 5'3".
Hey, Wax, my guy. Wax been saying there's like footage of the whole thing happening.
Yeah, there was I believe an Asian kid had taken footage of the video of the event, but he or she is a minor, and the parents don't want to be involved. They don't want to have their name. That's Wax's story. He said that he has not seen it, but he's known someone who has seen it. So I don't know.
Hey,
until Wax tells me that he saw it.
Hey, listen.
And I get the play
with all
by
due
play,
respect,
I'm
and
like,
Wax my guy, and I don't want to, because Wax loves his credibility, and I don't believe he's making this up. I feel like he heard it from somewhere.
Yeah.
But I've heard from people as close as could be. That's not true.
Okay.
There is no footage of like the shooting happened.
Yeah.
Like you gotta imagine, like, if you're telling me this is a criminal case, if there is I don't care who it is, it could be NASA recording something.
You know that you could pay for footage, right? You know that Tory, if that footage actually existed, if it did, Tory could pay that family $1 million to own that footage, have them sign a piece of paper. Because I've gone through court shit and I've had to buy footage and stuff like that, right? There's a whole thing. Person comes in, they sign a paper and say, I took the footage. They'll say that hasn't been modified. During the subpoena, they would have to sit down and explain how they got the footage, where it went, how it got transferred. Did they move it around? Is it AI? Is it spliced together? Is it blah, blah? No. Here's the original hard drive, whatever else. And he could legally own that footage and present it to the jury.
Hey, so
but that never happened.
This is a story I hear. There was a family that was claiming that there was footage.
Okay.
The police followed up with the family, and they never provided any such footage over the length of the investigation. That they didn't even say what was on the footage. They said, "Hey, we had seen these people in the car. We started recording." Yeah. It didn't say because the new developed stories that they followed them. Which, if I'm a driver and you see someone following you turn by turn to some. Basically an alley. If you see, it's like a alley.
But it all happened in one location.
Right? Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Well, no. They had started arguing at first, and then one person got out the car. This is before the bullets get fired. Oh, okay. She hops back in the car, and they said they seen that, and then they follow the car. From what I'm hearing,
if it's a minor, then
no, the
story doesn't make sense.
Yeah, from what I heard, the police. There was a report of that. The police checked into it, but there was zero footage available. Now, that's why I was interested when you were hearing that, there is footage available, the police didn't get it. Because the police followed up with these people and they said, hey, did you guys see anything? No, but we have footage. Okay, you didn't see anything, but you got footage. Okay, where's the footage? We don't have the footage. You get what I mean? Yeah. So we could say, it's kind of complicated. Anyway, you're always, you're in LA a lot. Drake, Kendrick.
Yeah.
We literally have just seen a concert in the last couple of days where Kendrick Lamar literally, it feels like a championship parade.
Oh yeah.
I'm on stream watching this thing, and like it's kind of like I'm like in this weird position because everyone's looking at me. I'm not no neutral fan anymore. I'm like Drake's like they're looking at me like Drake's right hand man. Never even met Drake. You know what I mean?
Oh, you never met him?
No. Well, he tried to meet me like 4 times, but like I was always drunk. Like after his concerts, I've gone to his concerts. Be like, yo, pull up to like Dave and Buster's, and like I'm with my people already. I'm like, I'm not the guy. Vlad, you know when you get too old to go to after party? Like after the event, I know the event is over at 11, so I get drunk that by 11 I'm going home. Yeah. I don't know that we're still going till 4 a.m. Yeah. So like he's hitting me like Boy Wonders to me, the boy wants you to come to, and like obviously I do want to meet him, like, but still I was just like in those times I was just already inebriated, so I never really like met him like that. But we talk all the time. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, what do you think about that? Because I felt like I was getting a lot. You were very vocal about how this kind of battle and even some of the mudslinging going across the aisle was being conveyed. What's your overall thoughts?
I mean, you said it was a victory lap.
Do you think Kendrick won?
100%.
I feel like you were Drake's side at first, though.
Well, no, I was on Drake's side when I heard
Push-Ups.
Push-Ups. I thought that
Come
was
on,
a great.
drop it, give me 50.
I thought Push-Ups was a great record, and it was kind of dissecting everyone, and it was like almost like a back-to-back caliber thing. And then Kendrick came back. I thought Euphoria was a very dope record. I mean, if you look at whose side I'm on, you got to also look when I was saying it. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. I was saying it because there's a lot of records coming out, and there was time that was passing. Remember, at one point, everyone was saying the battle is over because Kendrick didn't respond.
Yeah, it was 20 days or so.
3 weeks went by, there was no response from Kendrick, and they're like, Drake won. But then there was a barrage of records afterwards. So Push-Ups I thought was a great record. Euphoria I thought was a great record as well. And I'm like, okay, now it's actually getting interesting. It's actually kind of even right now. Was it Meet the Family?
Yeah. Meet the Grams.
Meet the Family came first.
No. Family Matters. Family Matters from Drake.
Family Matters came out, and I thought that was a great record. That second verse might have been my favorite moment of the battle.
Really?
Musically.
Okay.
That beat, the way he was like, kind of like dipping on that beat.
Yo, he's going at everybody too.
Like he was like, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Right? The first verse and the third verse I didn't like as much. But I thought it was very creative that he's actually switching the beat and the flow every time on one record 3 different times. I'm like, okay, this is really dope. And then, when They Not Like Us came out, I'm like, okay, this is becoming like an anthem. And then when you sit back and let some time pass, and I remember I tweeted about this, and people like to get on me about this, is that They Not Like Us has 4 times the streams of Family Matters. 4 times.
Yeah, it does.
4 times. You could say that there's bots or whatever, but everyone's got bots, if that's the case.
I've been trying to make that point. People ignore me saying that. I'm like, I never just accuse
Drake
one.
Is the only one's got bots. Or
I've never just accused one person of just having bots.
Everyone's got bots.
Bots is built in. It's like we're in a steroid era. Where it's like,
everyone's on steroids. Everyone's on steroids, right? So at the end of the day, you can't say that They Not Like Us is not a huge record that's being played everywhere.
It's huge,
right? Now, if suddenly The Heart Part 6 had 100 million streams, you'd be like, come on. I've never heard that shit anywhere. That was like, I was saying this, like, for example, when Tekashi came back and started dropping records, and those records would get like 100 million streams on YouTube, and it wouldn't even be on the top 50 charts on Spotify. I'm like, these are paid for. You can't have a huge record, a huge piece of content on one platform and not even hit the radar on the other ones. That means that
somebody hit with the boss.
So someone's not boss necessarily, but it might just be advertising.
Okay.
Right? You can pay for advertising on all these platforms. But a really organic big record will be everywhere. It'll be big on YouTube. It'll be big on Spotify. It'll be big on TikTok. It'll be big on Snapchat. It'll be big on whatever. You know what I'm saying? So clearly They Not Like Us was the biggest record. It became an anthem. This show was a victory lap. It was all big events, one after another. Drake, I felt that after his bodyguard got shot, just went silent.
think you had to though. Like you're in a rap battle, and then some like non-rap serious stuff that from this is just what I've heard. That is a whole life and a whole beast of itself. And now you're like, put it like this: how hard is it to, shit? For any media person, I pray you don't have these days where it's like you have to do your job, but you have also turmoil yourself, or you're going through some shit, right? But you have to still do your job, and it's kind of difficult because to stay focused. I think that's what Drake went through a bit, right?
Did Drake tell you that there's like more important shit that he has to deal with right now, or something like that? So yeah, and that was probably the shooting.
Yeah, no, of course.
Like I said, when me and Boosie talked about it, Boosie was like, what if his son was in front of the house along with his bodyguard? His son gets shot. His son gets killed. Like imagine that.
What Drake told me, he said, I love this hip hop shit. He said, I did this battle for my fans. He said, yeah, this guy's lying on me, but I'm gonna compete. I'm going back and forth. He's like, it's just fucked up that, this moment that they're thinking that I'm like, oh, okay, he wants nothing more to do with it, is really just, is some real life shit happen. Someone gets shot in front of my house. I have helicopters now like wondering what the hell, because that's like literally some street shit. No, that's my sister walking out. That's some literal street shit, right? Like that is like unrelated, supposedly. He has to be.
Is it unrelated though? The timing of it makes it, because Drake didn't just go at Kendrick. He also went at The Weeknd, who is one of the gods of Canada. You know what I'm saying? Not to say The Weeknd had anything to do with it directly, but would it be that? I mean, he called him a drug addict and stuff like that. Would it be that surprising if someone that was cool with The Weeknd was like, I'm going to take it upon myself to do this? Would it be that surprising? Because it had to have come from Canada. No one's going over the border. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Like
ASAP Rocky's not gonna.
Imagine going to Canada and then finding a gun, because you can't bring a gun to Canada. Yo, who got a gun over here? I got to go to Drake's house and do some shit.
Like motherfuckers with ninja stars in front of the house.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest.
Knives,
the rumor I heard, and I want to just say these are unsubstantiated. I have not confirmed these. This is just supposedly talk in the streets that's even bubbled up to the point where I'm internet. So if it gets to me, I'm internet. Maybe he had loose connection to what happened, maybe at the Weeknd's manager's house. And
that's what I'm saying. The timing of it can't be a coincidence. It could be, but it probably is.
And that there, which fans might look at it wrong, that's not a musical thing. You might look at Drake being a musical artist and The Weeknd as a musical artist. But these two guys, whether people know it or not, and you know about dudes with a lot of money and wealth and power, they're connected to all type of nefarious people, all type of guys who really get it in. So now when two of these guys who both live in Canada now start going at each other, the underlings are now getting active. They're all trying to send messages. They're all trying to show
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Weeknd said, hey,
oh, hell no.
my feelings are hurt over this drug addict line. Go shoot up Drake's house and hit his bodyguard. I don't think that happened.
No.
But did someone take it upon themselves who The Weeknd may have helped out a lot over the years and really like looks up to him as a close friend and a brother or whatever else? Like, yo. And then after the fact, be like, yeah, that was me.
Yo.
Trust me, like we've all had people. I have people like this that have always offered to do shit for me on my behalf. And I'm like, no. I don't want nothing to do with this shit. Don't do anything. You're not helping me. I'll handle it on my own.
I'll leave my sources nameless. Again, I didn't hear that EXO, whether it's the manager or The Weeknd or OVO in terms of Drake, they had anything. They didn't order nothing. They're just figureheads. I hear there was tension brewing beyond this, and that both factions of the street level guys were kind of getting into it. Obviously, the way to make the biggest statement is, let's bring it to your doorsteps.
Yeah, they did it.
Right?
Yeah.
Who knows? So, all right. Cool. It's you know what everyone keeps saying? They're like, yo, Ak, you got to just admit that Kendrick won. So I'm like, I like the Not Like Us record, but people just want Drake to be out of here. That's not even possible, I believe. Do you think Drake could get Ja Rule? This is my last question on it.
I think that in hip hop, 99.999% of the time, in music in general, across all genres, and in hip hop is included in the statement, the height of a person's work in terms of what there is considered their best projects, their most impactful songs, the things that move the needle, always happen in their 20s and their 30s. That once they hit their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, they become more like legacy artists. And I think Drake is fully aware of this. And you could try to hold on to it to the best you can.
He's 37.
That's what I'm saying.
He's turning 38 this year.
He's about to turn 40, and you are very hard-pressed to find anyone in any musical genre that continue to rise into their 40s and 50s.
Let me bring up a point. Jay had a point. I don't know if we want to consider it. He was trying to hold on to it. He said 30's a new 20. Maybe Drake could say 40's a new 20.
Of course he can. And then maybe Drake will flip this one on its head. Because there are certain artists that like George Clinton, I think, had his biggest hit with Atomic Dog, like when he was like 41 or something like that.
But we're talking about hip hop that is all about youth.
But this is Jay's best work, Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint 2. Like, you know what I mean? Like his later projects that he put out, what was the name of that last project he did? The one story of OJ.
Oh, 444.
444, right? That was a great project, but I don't think people would put that over Reasonable Doubt. You see what I'm saying? Now, he's still relevant.
And also, people kind of almost said that was adult contemporary rap.
Yeah, 2 Chainz hit his stride kind of later. But when you look at his biggest work, it happened in his like late 30s and stuff like that. Like, once you hit your 40s and your 50s, you just don't come up with these records. I'm not quite sure why, because you would think you have more experience.
Well, I think also that's not what you're living, though. I'll bring up this point that, and if you want me to give you a assist on this, I don't know if you've interviewed him before. You got to get Young Berg on. Like
I've had Berg on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Berg gave me an amazing interview.
Yeah,
like he gave it up
a few times actually. So that's how I interviewed him, was at Diddy's studio.
Oh shit! We're gonna double back to that.
Daddy's house.
Oh my god,
in Manhattan.
We're gonna double back to that.
Seems weird to say that, but yeah.
So
no Diddy.
When I talked to him, he said something very important. He said, what Diddy is going through and what Drake is going through, two different things. Drake is going through people saying, hey, we're tired of you winning, but he's also going at people now categorizing some of his behavior as weird, right?
Drake's behavior?
Yeah. Well, like, hey, why do you, like, for example, Joe Budden was doing like, hey, why are you singing about a 21-year-old? Like, why are you saying that? Oh, your heart is, and they're now, it's not as cute anymore as that's always been Drake.
Yeah.
His idea to it was, in this industry that's primarily built upon youthful exuberance and behavior, partying, turning up, all the women. It's a part of, it's a slice in the cake of someone's growth, but it's the youthful part of it.
Yeah, but it's not just hip hop, it's every genre. It's rock.
But I don't feel like
R&B,
we've ever seen them
country.
being shamed at it. As a rock star could still be a rock star.
He's not the same rock star as he was in his 20s and 30s. Yeah, of course. David Lee Roth could still go on tour. John Bon Jovi could still go on tour, but his first couple albums were the ones that changed the landscape.
Okay.
They can still go on tour and do their old songs, and they'll come out with an album, and people, their core fans will still fuck with it, but it won't hit the charts, and it won't change the culture. No older artist has ever done that.
Okay.
Ever, in any genre. It's not just hip-hop. You got to take a step back.
Okay, so forget the music, though. He said, so the thing with Diddy, the thing with Drake is that they're not realized they've overstayed their welcome. He's like, basically with Diddy, the lifestyle that you're living and you're leading, it's very different now that you're 55 or you're pushing 50s and you're still trying to curate and still trying to be around these 20-year-old girls and have the same type of parties. You have overstayed your welcome. You should have dipped out when you were in your 40s. This is why people, you know, if you think about it, I read some crazy stat that says most of the most successful people, even though I'm one of those anti-marriage people, Vlad, you know that. Most of those successful people, they have settled down. They're not doing the Playboy life, right? Yeah. And I guess it then goes to Drake. Hey, Drake, you're still operating and living and moving and still trying to make records towards the audience that is 23. When I fell in love with Drake's music, I was in college, just about to get out, and his music resonated with me on a higher level. I was an awkward kid that kind of came out of, I grew up in Jamaica, moved over here. I didn't really have friends that much in high school. I found myself in college because everybody from high school knew each other from kindergarten. In college, everybody came from everywhere. Yeah. So now I was like, okay, I now get to make friends in this and third. And when Drake's music, like some of the awkwardness of, you know, him going through meeting women and this and third, it resonated with me. It was more than the lyrics, right? Okay, I'm in my 30s. He is too. Life is very different for both of us. But some people feel like he's still singing and still harping on the part of his life that it would be you're 23 and you're just starting to get vagina. For the, you know.
I've always found it weird also that he's never really claimed a woman as a girlfriend or like, this is my woman. I'm in a serious relationship with this person, and we're actually putting it out there. Now, lots of people are married and don't put this information out there, but you still know, okay, they're married, they just don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like Bono from U2, he's been married this whole time. You just never see his wife because that's the way they've worked it out. Drake, doesn't seem like he gets into these serious relationships with women. You know what I mean? And he lives with his male friends and stuff like that. That's always just struck me as odd.
I think that's why people think that he had a misstep. They're like, hey, Drake, you're approaching 40 and you're trying to shame Kendrick for having a family and being engaged. You're trying to shame Pusha T for marrying Virginia Williams. Like, you're shaming them for things that you should be doing. That's like when Kendrick says a line like, I know you call yourself the boy, but I still haven't seen the man. Like, when Young Berg says that, it's like, yo, trust me, the industry's looked at this guy like, yo, you've overstayed your welcome at the party of hip hop that's based around youth, ignorance, and just partying and turning up. Maybe that's the thing.
He's always done features with younger artists. He jumps on people's records constantly, like Four Bats. Let me get on that. You know, Black Boy JB. Let me get on that. Young Blue. Let me get on that. You see what I'm saying? Like he you know, and Jay kind of had done the same thing for, you know, decades. But yeah, at the end of the day, you haven't really met the mature Drake yet. You still have party Drake, single Drake. Yeah, I got a kid, but I'm not with her. I'm even going to put
Baby Daddy Drake.
Yeah, you know, you got Baby Daddy Drake, you know, and he even put out that he'd only, like, knew his baby mother, like, on 2 or 3 occasions before she got pregnant or something. Like, you know, and it's also like, he got a girl pregnant who was basically a naked Instagram model, right? Who did like softcore porn and stuff like that. That's very different than Jay-Z marrying Beyonce, Swizz Beatz marrying Alicia. Like these are actual power moves and like big kind of mature.
I think that's why he resents A$AP Rocky. I think he wanted that to be Rihanna for him.
I'm sure, yeah. A$AP Rocky and Rihanna, 2 very successful people who, although they're not married, they now have 2 kids together, and you always see them together and they're a unit. That's to be admired, right? Diddy, from everyone I've talked to, has never gotten married because he loves his money too much and he can't bear to part with any of his money to a potential wife, even though he'll have 3 kids with her, like a Kim Porter. You see what I'm saying? So it's, you know, obviously he's living the way he wants to live, and that's cool. But from the outside looking in, it's not something that people admire in the same way that a Jay or a Swizz get admired for. Like they actually, DDG and
Halle
Bailey. Like
Hey, by the way,
this is dope. Like people admire this.
Hey, Drake commented on you recently.
Oh, and he said I'm not in the big three?
Okay, so apparently, so Adam 22,
Yeah.
While him and Joe are going, they have their little tiff, they go back and forth. He presented the idea. He said, listen, this guy Joe thinks he's part of the big three when it comes to media, which, by the way, my thoughts on that is I think we have a personality big three and a platform big three. The platform big three, I think is set in stone. I think it's me, you, and Adam, No Jumper, Vlad TV, and Akademiks. The personality-wise, I think there you could be like, yo, hey.
Yeah, I'm not on camera, so
yeah,
I have a certain disadvantage.
Joe gives the hot take. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? That's where we're at with him. Anyway, Adam presents it to Drake.
Yeah.
And supposedly Drake says, nah, we gotta take Vlad out and put Joe in.
It's not supposedly.
He did say, okay, right.
I think I actually saw it, like the DMs or whatever.
And I was wondering, I was like, I wonder what does Vlad think about this?
I think it's me being the oldest person out of everyone who's getting mentioned.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm still getting mentioned, by the biggest rapper in the world. He could have said, who? Who's this Vlad guy? He knows who I am, so he can't really say
but
that.
Of course.
But I'm saying,
Andrew's tapped in. Like, yeah, you know.
But the fact that the biggest rapper in the world is saying, not Vlad, but this other guy, is like, yo, but I'm in a conversation, which is great. Because none of these was based on any sort of facts.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you start breaking down the streams and the views and whatever else, which Adam didn't do. And me and Adam are friends.
Yeah.
Adam really goes hard. And for me, no Diddy, in terms of admiring what I do, and likewise, I admire what he does. So I understand why Adam did it, and I think it's dope, But the fact that I'm being mentioned, to me, I think it was like, yo, that's great. Okay, you want to put Joe? If Joe is 3 and I'm 4, great. We're all successful in this.
There's a line drawn, and I think when it comes to people like me, Adam, we've watched your platform and modeled our own. You know what I mean? So we're always gonna look at different. Anyway, okay. So that he says you weren't in the. It's interesting you say that. I look at how you even respond to this question, and I don't know what your opinion on him, Elliott Wilson. I feel like Elliott Wilson feels bothered anytime he's left out of the conversation by whoever. While you're like, yo, to think about my age, how long I've been doing this shit, for me to be in a conversation, all right, okay, that's fine. Like, yo, all right. You know what I mean? While I think, I watch Elliott and I could tell he's like, nah, I want to be number one, and I'm watching him he's trying to do his thing, but you guys have two different demeanors about what people feel your position in media is.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Elliott. We talked about doing an interview together.
That would be good.
Elliott was around longer than all of us in the media game, and he pulled off an amazing set of work at XXL. I used to go to XXL to try to promote my mixtapes and everything else like that. XXL I read religiously. At the end of the day, though, it's hard to put yourself in a ranking when you don't put out the amount of content that your competitors are putting out. I mean, this was always the complaint about Carisha Please.
Of course.
Is that her interviews are good, but there's so few of them.
6 episodes, get an award.
Then we're winning the top award at these award shows. I think Elliott hasn't put out a lot of content. Now, the content he has put out, he's had 2 Drake interviews. I think he had a Jay-Z interview. And
he's had some iconic ones.
The what?
Yeah, he's had some iconic ones.
No, he's had some iconic, thing. But I think at the time, I think he was working for Tidal, and now now he's got this daily show that he does.
Yeah.
On Hip Hop DX. So I think he's trying to put himself out there a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it's hard when you put out such, spread out projects, whereas like I'm doing 3, 4, 5 interviews a week sometimes, and I'm constantly hitting people, and stuff is constantly going viral, and this, that, and the clips are showing up here and whatever else, that you're not going to be in a conversation if you don't show up to all the games.
Yeah,
not at all a shot at Elliot, because I think what Elliot has done is dope. You know, I'm a fan of Elliot Wilson, and he's spoken nicely about me as well.
But I think we all are. Elliot's dope. I think Elliot doesn't really. We're in this. Like, the way people perceive media is, what have you done for me lately, right? There was a time the two dope boys and the non-rights, they were pop. Right. Listen, right now it's like, what have you done in the last couple of years?
Yeah.
And what's happened is that I feel like Elliot has came from that ecosystem of, okay, you worked in XXL and this and third, and even with the rder, like, people didn't see you like how they see like a Vlad TV, or like even a No Jumper, even me, or even a Joe Budden podcast.
Yeah.
So it feels like, even though you're so legendary, you're kind of starting off. Like, not starting off, but like it feels like you're behind, but you're not behind. It's just that they're looking at these guys, they're saying, yo, Vlad has been building this one singular thing called Vlad TV. And that's the thing about when you get employed somewhere, right? Like, for example, there's episodes of Everyday Struggle that were removed for whatever legal reason, and you can't find them.
Yeah.
Right? So if there's someone now who's like, wait, Ak was on Everyday Struggle, they can't find those things. As opposed to my content, they could go back to 2012. Every time, like, I have to pull up one of my old videos, I almost cringe because my voice sounds different. But that's 12 years ago.
Right, and when you're under a bigger corporation, which is what Elliot's always been under, he's under XXL, then he was under Tidal, now he's under, I guess, Hip Hop DX, and that's his comfort level. I think he likes having a regular paycheck and doesn't like the uncertainty of running your own business and having payroll and everything else like that. You are going to be, there's not the flexibility of constantly dropping content whenever you want to drop it, and you're competing against people like me, you, Joe, Adam, that own their own platforms that could drop shit whenever they feel like it. They don't have to okay it with somebody. They don't have to hear, oh no, that's too much, or oh no, this is too whatever, take it down. Yeah, it's a different kind of thing. It's like the older artists that drop one album out every 3 years. Sometimes they fall behind the NBA young boys that might drop 2 or 3 albums in 1 year. Mm-hmm. They may not do as well as that one album every 3 years, but when you count it up, it's doing way more streams and they're more impactful. And they're more at the pulse of what's happening. I think that's kind of what it's like. And, it's not one way is not better than the other. This is how Elliot chose to work out his career, and I think he's older than I am. So it is what it is.
Yeah, he's still in here taking fights, and I like that. So salute to him.
Yeah, man.
Your page is like a virtual video encyclopedia, a video cyclopedia for so many things, whether it's, unfortunately the murders of Pac, even Big. Obviously, if we think about a lot of these drug stories, the Diddy thing going on now. You've had many interviews before where Diddy's been mentioned this and third, but we're seeing it take a new shape. You have this great series going on right now, which I think Roger Bonds came on. He's doing an amazing job, giving up a lot of information. And also, you've set your sights on it to get relevant. And this is where you're number one at. And I know you fucking know. And I'm giving you your flowers, but there's nobody's going to get all the fucking details out of you than DJ Vlad.
I'm surgical.
You're surgical. Your interviews are so surgical. Yeah. No stone. I'm hearing motherfucking The Game tell stories he's never told before on your fucking platform. Right. And I'm like, how does nobody get this with Vlad? You know how to, because the person be like, okay, so you're shot 3 times. Wait, is it 2 in the arm? You're very detail oriented.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the details, you get new stories. See what I'm saying? It's
okay. Yeah.
If you just talk about what everyone else talked about and you don't dig into the story, there might be a whole new story that comes out in the process of getting these details. and there's the preparation that I feel like most people don't do that I do.
How much, well, I do want to talk about Diddy, but how much prep do you do?
Well, I have an assistant, who's currently Evan. So me and him have been working together for like 10 years or something like that. And he's very good at knowing where I'm going and how to research the topics. So I'll get the first draft of research from him, and then I'll spend like, depending on who it is, sometimes it's a day.
Little baby said you got that from the feds when he was like, when he's like, how you know that?
Right.
That was hilarious.
You know how I got it? From watching an interview he did with DJ Smalls. And he literally said what I asked. He just didn't remember it.
So wait, so you actually, in prepping for an artist, you're watching their old interviews. Really?
Interviews of that person.
Wow.
Nori does the same thing. Nori will hit me like, yo, I'm about to do Yellow Wolf. I'm watching Yellow Wolf interview right now. You know, it'll be like, yeah.
All respect to Dorian Nori's amazing. You're fucking surgical.
Yeah. And one of my tricks, if we want to talk about tricks of the trade, is I'll watch interviews in double, sometimes triple speed.
Really?
Yeah. Like in YouTube or in QuickTime Player on my Mac, you could actually increase the speed. And there's even a tool that I found where you could actually go past 2 times. You could go 2.5, 3.
But you can't even like.
No, I can comprehend it.
Really?
Yeah, I can.
So you're just trying to retain information.
I'm trying to get it as quickly as possible.
Wow.
I'm trying to ingest this as fast as I can because I have a lot to go through. If I have like 3 interviews and each one is 2 hours, if I watch them, it'll take 6 hours. But if I triple the speed, I could do it in 2 hours. Right? I've now done 6 hours worth of work in 2 hours. And sometimes you'll even skip around a little bit because, okay.
Are you taking notes on these things when you're doing it? You are?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, okay. When I was in interviews, I'm like, I'll put your stuff on. I'll put Adam's stuff on.
I have extensive notes.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you taking notes on your phone? Or are you like writing?
On a laptop. Like
really?
Google Docs.
Okay.
Yeah, and those notes get saved. So then if I do another interview in the future and I have to reference back, it's like I can pull up those notes and then start to, like for example, like I did Doc Gooden. He was a legendary pitcher for the Mets. And his kind of partner in crime on the team was Darryl Strawberry. So I get to, I went through all the Darryl Strawberry notes, then I kind of incorporated them into the Doc Gooden notes. So it's a process that builds on top of itself.
Wow. To actually see how the method behind the madness, that's crazy. Yeah. Again, I do want to talk about Diddy, but before that, as we get into, any of you explain about some of your prolific styles. I've recently seen that you and Art of Dialogue squashed whatever issue y'all had. I was very happy because I use this. Listen, everybody know I fuck with Vlad. Y'all listen. Don't even try to get me to say nothing bad about my guy. By the way, I think you've switched and kudos to you. You flipped the narrative. There was a time that I felt like people felt like you were just only a necessary evil. Of course, you still have people that don't like you, but I feel like people I feel like you've gained and garnered a lot of we fuck with Vlad for what he does. We know what he does. We're not going to him for some other shit. We go to Vlad for Vlad. Yeah. And that's good. You know what I mean? Like I've always said, I don't want people to come to me. I hate it when the street dudes are coming to be like, nah, but tell us what the street niggas would do. I don't know what the street niggas do. I don't know the street nigga. Like I used to tell yo, there's other street nigga YouTubers. Go watch them. I don't know what they would do. I'm gonna tell you what it's
for everybody, man.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think you've switched it up. You've switched like the public, the majority. Anyway. I say that to say, Vlad's always my guy before and even out. You and Art of Dialogue, yeah. I feel like that they were, inspired by you, but so y'all are in the same lane. And I was hoping you guys were going to have an amicable solution.
Shout out to Reggie Wright Jr. He put us on the phone together.
Oh, really? Yeah. How'd that go?
Well, what had happened was, I think I did an interview on, was it Straight Ballin', or what was the name of Reggie? I feel bad about doing this, but there was a platform that Reggie's involved in. Okay, it was like a Tupac related YouTube channel. I feel really bad about because I did an interview for them, and they brought up the Art of Dialogue question, and I just said, which is what I've always said, was I respect what he does. He's gotten a lot of really dope interviews. He's gotten some people that I've wanted to interview myself that he's done good interviews with. My problem is that when you look at the thumbnails, it basically looks so similar to a Vlad TV thumbnail, and they don't put their logo on there, right? They used to put their logo on there, but then they hit this point where they don't put their logo on there. So at first glance, it's very easy to confuse one with the other. You even said it. You confused some of the interviews I've had. You know, I've seen this over and over again, right? So my thing is like, yo, and then he responded and said, you know, that's not true. No one's ever confused the two, and blah, blah.
No, I definitely did.
And I was like,
if I didn't know you, I probably wouldn't find them. And by the way, I'm happy that I found them. And by the way, you know, I share their clips all the time now too. And
our artists got good interviews. So when when he responded to me, which was the first time he had responded, I told Reggie, I said, why don't you put us on the phone together?
Really?
Yeah, and he said, let me reach out to him. He goes, nah. He's upset over what you said, and he feels it's affecting his business and whatever else. I said, all right, cool. I left it alone. But then out of the blue, maybe like a month ago, Reggie's like, hey, man, Art's kind of gotten over that feeling, and he actually wants to get on the phone with you. So I was like, great. That's what I wanted, you know, months ago. So we got on the phone, and the first thing I said was, listen, bro, like, I respect what you do. I think you've had great interviews. I've never criticized your content on any level. You've interviewed Tupac's dad, and you know, I've always wanted to do that interview myself, and you did a great job of it. My only thing is that you don't put your logo on your thumbnails, and that's what causes the confusion. Like, just, you know, if you just have a logo of any sort on the thumbnails, it differentiates yours from mine. And I understand that the font that I use is probably common, and I don't own that font. You know, I can't tell someone not to use a font, but when you leave the logo out completely from the thumbnail, a sense of confusion happens.
By the way, you know, and in your case, the reason why a lot of people confuse that, and we've had a talk about that, because even when people, and I remember even talking to my team that runs, I have a secondary Instagram account and a secondary Twitter account that's ran by people. So that's the only thing that I don't have to approve. They could just post on it, right? And I tell them, I said, listen, if y'all post Vlad, do not crop out his motherfucking logo, right? That's the thing.
Well, anything associated with you, out.
No. I know, but still, like, you know, they're, you know, I like having complete oversight, but I'm not watching everything that. Yeah. So, like, I wanted to kind of like build because I can't look at every post. I'm looking at business these days. So anyway, the reason why I confuse Art of Dialogue stuff with you at first is that I knew that there would be times that people posted your content and cropped it out conveniently. They would crop it out or put their logo. Right. So I'm like, okay, I know this kind of format. This is a guy who does these type of interviews. If I see that, oh, that's a Vlad interview, because I don't see a brand that I know.
Right.
So yeah, people like me were confused. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. So, and I said, listen, bro, that's my only issue. And he goes, I understand that. I respect that. I said, he said from now on.
He was very okay.
He said from now on, I'm gonna put my logo on there. And he goes, and he said, I respect what you did coming up. I was watching your interviews and everything else like that. But I understand where you're coming from, and I'm gonna put my logo on there. And if you look at all of the clips for the past month, they all have his logo on there. And I'm like, great. And then he's like, yeah, man, and, you know, and he's like, yo, I really want to do an interview with you. I'm like, cool. So he goes, yeah, you know, I'm gonna be out in LA later this summer. Let's sit down and actually do it. I'm like, great. I'm down because I support platforms. You see what I'm saying? So that was it. I had one gripe. He addressed that gripe. So there's no reason to have a gripe anymore. And that's why I went and made a tweet about it, because people had been kind of talking about it, who kind of, you know, and you know, we all have fans. Some people say his shit's better than my shit, or my shit's better than his shit. Who cares? But that's why I publicly said, yeah, you know, whatever issues we had, we squashed. I didn't go into any details. And I said, you know, look for an art, you know, interview, you know, later this year sometime.
No,
which mimics, and he retweeted it and was like, yo, you know, good looking out. And then, yeah, just a grown man conversation. That's it. That's all it took.
Hey, I love both of you guys' platforms. Obviously you're the OG, the king of this shit, and you just have a plethora and a catalog of information. But he's doing his thing too, and I kind of go from both you guys' interviews. Shit, I see Roger Bonds on your shit. If I see Gene Deal on him, I'm over here trying to like.
We all have our regular guests. We all have the people that we fuck with. I forgot where he lives. So, but yeah, at the end of the day. I get it, and I just wanted to be heard, and he heard me, and and it wasn't like a fuck you.
I'm glad it wasn't that.
No, but it shouldn't be. It never was going to be like that. It was going to be the same conversation had it happened like 6 months ago. Exactly. He just didn't want to have it at that point. And it is what it is.
Okay, Diddy.
Yes. That's Diddy.
You are probably, after speaking with so many people very close to the situations, people who have just been around, you've heard the random miscellaneous stories. Diddy today, or actually yesterday, cleared his Instagram out. Yes. I personally believe that Diddy I'm in preparation mode for this indictment. I've hopefully been speaking to the feds, making sure they know I was never a flight risk. Hopefully, whenever I get arrested, I could be out on bond for this, even though there's a possibility he can't. But I think he's in, I know I'm going to be indicted mode. Let me operate as such. What do you think? You've talked to so many people. You've talked to the bodyguards. You've talked to everything. What do you think is happening?
Well, there's a grand jury happening right now. And a grand jury, 99% of the time, leads to an indictment. Because a grand jury is a process that can go on for months. And you can continuously introduce new evidence, new witnesses, and so forth. You can keep going almost forever until the jury feels there's enough information to indict. And Diddy doesn't have his lawyers present during the grand jury, so there's no one to say this person
isn't telling the truth.
Isn't telling the truth. This is a complete lie. This document is false. They're just bringing one side, a trial with only one side. So he's going to be indicted. I'm 99% sure that he's going to be indicted. Now, what happens after that, who knows? Me personally, I don't know why people stick around to go to prison. Like, if I was Diddy...
You think he should leave?
If I knew at age 50, 55 or so?
Yeah.
At 55...
Is that even possible? He has to know. I imagine, by the way, they covered it. They said, hey, he was in Florida this whole time. Remember, they called him at Opelika executive. That's the private jet airport in Florida. So apparently he was going to go to Bahamas on vacation. They stopped him there. He canceled that. He's been in Florida the whole time. But recently he popped up in L.A. Yeah. They believe that he probably told the federal authorities, I'm not running. Because you got to imagine, if he is on the manifest of a jet, and if that shit says international, they're investigating him. They're going to arrest him immediately because they're going to say, we're going to...
But can they arrest him? They can't arrest him until they have an indictment. That's what I'm saying.
No. They can't arrest him pertaining what he will be indicted for. But they could...
They can't arrest him. If you're not indicted, you can't be arrested.
Vlad, can't...
You can't be arrested.
Vlad. You have 100... kilos of coke in your car.
Yeah.
Right? They know you got the kilos of coke in your car, but they don't necessarily have the substantive proof to just have a search warrant to go in your car. You know what they do?
They already got the search warrant.
No, they don't. Hold on.
That's when they raided the house.
Wait. No. But I'm just giving an example. You know what they do? They tell local. I watch all these body cam video channels. I love them. I don't know why. They tell local law enforcement, pull them over for a traffic infraction. I guess what I'm trying to say, if the feds have any inkling that they feel Diddy's going to leave, they're going to get him in custody for anything. Anything. Hey, they might even tap Broward County. Hey, remember that drug mule that we caught on the plane that we just gave a felony to? We're going to just file drug charges on him to make sure he doesn't leave?
Yeah, they could try, but ultimately his lawyer is going to say this is bullshit. I want my client out and the charges dropped. And then at that point, he could do whatever he wants. Like, at the end of the day, I see what you're saying, but he still has his passport.
Yeah, they're not going to cancel I'm pretty sure.
He still has his passport. When he's indicted, they're going to take his passport.
Vlad, you don't think that the feds are basically, we're not talking about some people who are just some lower level people who don't know what the feds are doing.
No, it's the feds.
Well, not only the feds, but his attorneys are speaking with the feds. Clearly.
I'm sure they are.
They have to, right? I'm pretty sure they say, hey, listen, his passport isn't suspended. We're not saying he can't leave the country, but we highly suggest he doesn't.
Well, right, because if he leaves the country, and if he goes someplace where there's no extradition policy, like Russia, he is going to look a certain type of way already. Just like when OJ jumped in the Bronco and was driving down the freeway, right? OJ still won, but they had to get over that. That was a big hurdle.
He didn't get bond on that, did he? He got bond, right?
No, he was in jail the whole time.
Oh, okay. See, well, that's the thing. And I think
wait. See, he turned himself in.
Okay, yeah, but that's also a thing too, though.
He's clearly a flight risk.
Okay, but that's also a thing too.
Yeah.
I think if I'm Diddy, I'm working with the feds to say at least, hey, I have to go to LA to do business. You got to tell them where you're going to go. You don't want to make them feel like they have to rush an investigation or rush, the prosecutor's got to rush this grand jury stuff. And if they feel like you were trying to evade them, like if all of a sudden Diddy gets on a jet and the jet says, our flight plan is from LA and we're going to motherfucking, I don't know, the Philippines. I don't know if they have an extradition treaty there. Maybe not.
They do. But if you go to Russia, that's where Edward Snowden is. The guy that leaked all the military secrets. That's where...
he ain't locked up?
Huh?
He's not locked up?
No, he's in Russia. He lives in Russia. He's able to walk around free in Russia. If he goes back to America, he'll be arrested.
Oh,
Same
shit.
thing with, I believe, Steven Seagal. He had, I believe, some rape charges or whatever else. He went to Russia. He lives in Russia.
No, Steven Seagal's back here.
No.
You're lying.
No, Steven Seagal's been in Russia the whole time. From what I understand, I may be wrong, but this is what I've heard for years.
Steve, the guy who's in the movies,
Yes.
like doing all this
That
type
guy,
of,
yeah.
like, he's just in Russia?
He's in Russia.
Really?
That's what people do when they know that they're about to get arrested and they have to go someplace where they can't be extradited. Okay?
No, it won't be here.
The U.S. is not going to invade Russia to pull Diddy out, to take him back.
No, of course not.
They pulled that shit on Bin Laden in Pakistan. But that's Pakistan, and it's also somebody who committed the greatest terrorist attack in U.S. history. See, Russia's already has declared that the U.S. is an enemy. There is no possible way that the U.S. will try to get Diddy out of Russia if he's charged with a bunch of crimes that are just involving a few women as opposed to the killing of thousands of people.
But Vlad, okay, let's bring it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Why do you think that might even be something on the table? Or we're being hypothetical here. Why are you really thinking that, hey, whenever they come get him, this is a lifetime thing?
It might be. Look at Harvey Weinstein. In jail right now. Yeah, he got a mistrial and he's going to have to redo the court case, whatever else, but he's been in jail the whole time. Diddy does not want to be Harvey Weinstein. Bill Cosby was in jail. I mean, he got out, but he was in jail. Convicted over some shit he should have been convicted over because the deal was already made. This happens. And when you're an older man, who wants to spend their 50s and 60s in a jail cell when you're a billionaire?
Yo, I'm confused by what I see. And you tell me what you think about the optics. Okay, so, and I don't think I've told people about this yet. So, I was the person who debuted the Christian Combs diss track that also dissed the feds.
Yeah.
I had that song for a week. Yeah. Someone who I know who comes to the studio who's friends with someone else that's in the circle of Christian Combs was like, hey, he wants to release a track. And the whole time I'm saying, you're lying to me. You know how sometimes people try to get close to you by like, oh, no, I could get you a future interview, Vlad. And you're like, really? Can you? And you're like, yeah, fuck with me. So now you're fucking with them. You never get a future interview, but they're like, cool with you. I'm thinking this is what it is. Like, you want to drop a song. They gave me one day, said, oh, we're going to sing you the song. Don't get the song. They then sent me the song eventually. And even then I'm like, they're not even giving me instructions like, yo, nah, drop it then. Actually, they even told me, nah, you want to wait till like next week. And I remember like the time I think I just dropped it during the Drake thing because it was random. I was just like, I low-key thought it was AI. I have the track. I heard it. He's saying, yo, anybody who say no Diddy, suck my dick. Yo, you better not say that in my face. The feds, they thought they got the right house, but they didn't get the one next door. Yo, I'm listening to this. I'm like, this gotta be AI. Okay. So one random day, I just like play it. He didn't tell me to play that day. It was just like one random day. And I was like, that's the time Quavo sent me a song to leak. Rick Ross sent me a song to leak this in Drake. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm the exclusive guy right now. Like, maybe I could just drop something new. And I just play the song. And then I realized it's real because after it started getting traction, his team uploaded to his real page. Yeah. Because I actually hit him. I was like, yo, Christian, is this real? And me, we've like exchanged DM before. He didn't respond to me. I was like, somebody's trying to get me. Because I understand, like, someone wants to ruin my credibility by giving me an AI track that I'm claiming is real. That's why I just played it randomly. I didn't say anything. Then I see them upload it. I'm like, holy shit. When you heard that record.
I don't think Diddy approved it. I don't think his dad said, yeah, drop that shit. But Christian really has never been a viable artist.
Well,
has he?
I mean, he had a song called, well, it's not even about that. All right, hold on. Fuck the artist part. Vlad, you have an empire. I have an empire. When I hear Christian Combs talking about all these jets and Rolls Royces that he got.
They're not his, they're his dad's. Yeah.
You're enjoying the lifestyle of your dad. I don't know if they're being instructed to be like, hey, keep a cool face. Don't act like you're paranoid. If Diddy goes down, it's clipped. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's so much things that could.
Well,
Vlad.
They're not going to take all his money.
Vlad, come on now.
There's going to be a lot of money still
Vlad.
around, even if he goes to prison.
No, Vlad, think about this. And we've seen this before too. We're talking about the feds. Think about Murder Inc. You know all about this. You're telling me that there's so many civil suits pending. There's possible, if he's found guilty of certain things, maybe restitution and other things have to be paid. They're saying that this is a RICO case.
Are they?
Possible. Well,
are they? We don't know.
Well, we don't know. But we're guessing.
Yeah.
There is a possibility that they're going to attack his funds. Also, here's the thing. His only chance is this money. You never know. This is feds. They might also say, let's bring the IRS into it as well. All I guess I'm saying is that it's a possibility the money becomes the subject or becomes...
It's a lot of money, though. And a lot of money, and I'm sure a lot of it's been hidden away at this point. And
you think so?
Put in Swiss bank accounts and everything.
I heard there were properties in like his mom's name and his kids.
Yeah, there's stuff in other people's names. There's stuff in trust. There's people that he probably fucks with. Like, for example, not everyone is turned on Diddy. Like Big Paulie, his actual head of security. Because Roger Bonds was the head of security for out of town. When Diddy was in New York, it was Big Paulie, who's never spoken at all.
Has he flipped? Is he still with him?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, and he'll never speak. No interviews, no comments, nothing. And he's done some dirt. When I say dirt, he's had to like rough people up for Diddy and whatever else. And
he knows where the skeletons are buried.
He knows where the skeletons are buried. He's never done an interview ever.
Wow.
So
have you reached out to him?
No, and I won't. It's a waste of time.
Let me ask you, how much so when I watched you with the Tupac thing, I felt you were doing, of course, interviews. You're an entertainer. You get entertaining interviews, but there was sort of a investigative portion that you were trying to use what you knew and use what other people have told you to try to get to at least a possible working theory that was more credible than what was out there already. Yeah. This Diddy thing, is that your goal?
I mean, it's going to be part of it. If you listen to the interview with Roger Bonds, there is a number of other women that Diddy physically abused beyond Cassie. There was his private chef, Jordan. You know, like I heard, I heard actual voicemails of her describing what happened. And it was like basically Diddy picked her up and threw her out of the house like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
She was his private chef. And I talked to people at Bad Boy. They're like, yeah, she was around for a long time. His assistant, he beat up. This other girl, Cassie's best friend, he threw a coat hanger.
We're talking about Tiffany Redder or someone else?
No. It's something else. A different girl.
Some of these things you're mentioning, I've never heard. Like, how do you know about this?
Roger Bonds told me about it.
Really?
And they're mentioning the lawsuits as well. They're mentioning the lawsuits. You know, like he got angry and threw like a wooden coat hanger at Cassie's best friend's head. It's this white girl who was like a model as well. And she got a concussion. And she sued Diddy, I think, for like $50,000. And I guess that was around the time that her and Cassie unfollowed each other on Instagram and took off all their pictures because I guess Cassie didn't take her side. She like took Diddy's side. And she was like, oh, you're supposed to be my friend. And you know, this man just abused me and you're just going to sit around and act like nothing's happened. So there was this long history of him. You know, there was an instance on a boat where Diddy punched, what's her name? His first...
Misa?
No, not Misa. The one who died.
Kim Porter.
Kim Porter, yeah. He punched her in the nose and flew in a plastic surgeon to get her nose fixed. And there's a picture with like a bandage over her nose. And it happened on a yacht. Roger wasn't there, but when they got off the yacht, he was there. And the story was, oh, she fell. You know, and that type of shit. So he has a long history of beating up on women, and now there's actually coming to light.
Okay, how do you deal with this situation? So while you're interviewing these people, some of these people could be material witnesses.
Yes.
Are you also asking them, like, hey, has the feds contacted you? Or you're asking this on camera or off camera, be like, hey, listen, whether you can say it or not, it's up to you, but are you part of, because I think everybody believes Cassie's part of it.
I did ask Roger if he's called to take the stand in Diddy's criminal case, would he do it? He said yes. I asked him that point blank. So now that's on tape. Whether he takes the stand is ultimately going to come down to whether he takes the stand. But I'm not here to lock anybody up. I'm not here to have justice served. I'm here to tell a story. And whatever happens is whatever happens.
I've heard you say this about the whole Diddy situation, but I wonder if your thoughts change after seeing that video. Or maybe you're just like, let me not even harp back on this story because it doesn't matter. Look at this video, which is heinous. You mentioned that you knew a friend that basically said, hey, listen, not everything that happened with Cassie was pretty much like she wasn't with it. Like she was into certain things.
It was Roger Bonds.
Okay. All right. But okay, so now hearing that she might have been maybe okay or liked or maybe consented to certain freaky things that they were doing. When you see the video of her trying to like sneak away from him and like him like clobbering her over the head, do you then be like, yeah, I shouldn't even say that because that makes the story looks like she was with everything.
But both could be true.
Okay. True.
Right? You could be people that stay in abusive relationships. Those relationships aren't abusive 100% of the time. It might just be 1% of the time. 99% of the time, you have a great relationship with the person. It's loving, it's caring, it's, you know, you get to live a lifestyle that you want, everything else like that. And then that 1% of the time, you rub that person, you say the wrong thing, and the person fucking snaps. And that's what you see on that video. Nobody chained Cassie to a wall and said that you will be my sex slave. You cannot, you're in a dungeon. Because you hear real stories about this. There was some crazy dude in like Germany who kidnapped his daughter and kept her in a basement and raped her and they had kids. And it's like you hear really crazy shit like this.
Cassie put out a statement though, which would make many believe that, hey, look at the violence that he did on camera. Yeah. I was scared of this guy. When I did run away, he would have people come get me back. As much as you think I'm a willing participant at any time, and by the way, you know who I talked to as well? I talked to Bradford Cohen, one of the biggest hip hop defense attorneys. He's represented Kodak Black. He's represented so many people in the Florida area. And he said, when I seen Cassie put out a particular statement and I seen the video come out, I'm a defense attorney. To me, what that means is that she needs, or not needs, but she wanted to make it abundantly clear that she was under duress while all these things are happening, because it's most likely the feds who are now building the case against Diddy are probably saying, well, we get it, Diddy's a target, but who's the people who recruited these people? And she might be a part of it. Yeah. So she's probably going to be what's called an unindicted co-conspirator.
Yeah.
So that kind of restores her victimhood in the eyes of people when you see that video.
Look, if you read, when I interviewed Roger Bonds, I literally went through the whole lawsuit, the Cassie lawsuit, line by line. At one point, after some abuse situation, she left, went to Florida or something, and she said that James Cruz, who I know, I worked with him. He was Diddy's manager for like 10 years or something. He worked at SRC when I was at SRC, so I know him very well. I've had good experiences with James. I also had negative experiences with James. So, I'm not here protecting anybody or whatever else. And he's been on my platform. He's done an interview. Not about this. So, in the lawsuit, it said that James reached out to her and said, you haven't been answering all of Diddy's calls. Your single is not going to come out unless you reconnect with Diddy. So, for the longest time, Cassie, in her own mind, was thinking that she has a real record, career on her hands, and Diddy's really going to be the person that turns her into a star, a superstar, because she only really had one single, Me and You, which she made before Diddy even showed up. That was her and Ryan Leslie. She had a little long way to go, but no, that wasn't a big song. It was really, she just had one big song. And for 10 years, and I talked to people at Bad Boy. She was treated like most other artists at Bad Boy, where she was given her chance. She was sent to the studio. She had collabs with people like Kid Cudi, the little car blowing up and everything else like that. Other artists would go in, other producers. She had her chance. I don't think she was ever honest enough with herself to say, maybe I'm just not that talented of an artist. Anyone can have a hit. You could have a number one song right now. If the right producer, writer, tattoo artist, stylist comes in and you just hit that right nerve with the right, like
at the right time.
The $1 Million Baby song.
Yeah.
Just came out of nowhere. This guy's been around for 10 years. Suddenly he's got the number one song in the country. It's sort of a weird song that doesn't really match a genre, but look, it worked. Everyone loved it. Number one song. Will he have another one? Who knows? She had that. And it's great that she did. But for 10 years, she stuck around realistically thinking that there's going to be she's going to be a big superstar, which she wasn't. She liked the lifestyle.
Clearly.
She had an apartment in L.A., apartment in New York. When I saw her out, I ran into her before. She had a brand new Rolex on. She had nice clothes. She never flew coach. She probably flies private. Probably had an expense account. She liked the lifestyle. And I talked to someone who said that she was trying to convince someone who I know to get Diddy to marry her. She wanted to be married to Diddy. The relationship was probably good a lot of the time. But when it got bad, it got bad. But she decided to stay. Diddy can't physically bring her back. If she leaves and says, I don't want to come back, fuck you, I'm changing my number, what could he do? He can't kidnap her. Not in America. Maybe some third world country somewhere. He can't. If she decides to go and not come back and says, I'm really done with it, which eventually she was. Remember when she married, when she got with her husband at the time and she had kids, that was it. It was over. She chose to stay, but it's not going to be painted that way. It's going to be painted like somehow she's a prisoner, which is not exactly true. You got to take a step back. Was she abused? Absolutely. Was she abused 100% of the time? Probably not. There were times. She could have stayed, but she could have left, but she decided to stay. And you have to take a certain level of responsibility for this. We've all stayed in bad relationships that we felt we should get out of. And you have a bad fight, and you're like, fuck this, fuck her, I'm never going back to her, it's over, whatever. Then things calm down, and the next day you have
That's a fact, man. You speaking to the choir right now.
You have a good day. The next day you're like, okay, well maybe it's not that bad. Maybe that's not going to happen again. And then some time passes, and a week, two pass, and then it happens again. And then I've been there. I've been there, and I think that's probably what was happening there. Was he abusive? Yes. Did they take drugs together? Yes. And a lot of it, based on this conversation with Roger Bonds, they were both junkies at one point. Yeah. They were both popping pills. He would sometimes get the pills from him. They would pop pills. They would go through these drug binges that would last 2-3 days. Then they would all get IVs on Monday to try to recover.
Yeah, I remember during the pandemic, I seen Diddy with one of those IV things. And I was just like, and I'm like.
No, it's a... So you got to think that a lot of these situations are drug-fueled. Everyone's out of their fucking mind. He's out of his mind. She's out of his mind. They got male escorts that are on drugs. Like, who the fuck knows what's happening in these closed rooms? But it's it's established he's gone to rehab. Like, these are addicts. So you got to take this into account as well and say, when I saw that tape, it was hideous and it was fucked up, and there's no excuse for that on any level. Was she abusive as well? She kind of probably fought back at certain times and everything else like that. You can't really be that abusive as a woman to a man, but she stuck around because there was a lot of upsides. Her parents were taken care of by Diddy. He would send them on vacations and probably gave them money and stuff like that. So her parents were somehow okay with this as well in their own way. So there's more to this story. And in my point of view, it seemed like the music career sort of was the umbrella that held it all together.
I agree.
And if she would have said one day, listen, I had a hit and I'm happy to get it, but really...
It ain't gonna work.
We've tried it over and over again, and it's a pipe dream that he's trying to sell me that I'm starting not to believe myself. Because look, once she left Diddy, was there a bidding war over Cassie?
Nah.
Was any label...
Even though he did sign her to like 10 albums, which is wild.
But he would have signed. I'm sure if she said, listen, Atlantic Records is interested in me, let me out of this fucking deal. I'm sure with all the dirt she's had on him, I'm sure it's not going to be a big deal for, he tried to hold on to Mace, but Mace was more of a viable artist. You see what I'm saying? I'm sure if another label said, listen, we think that you're a superstar, we're going to sign you to an album deal, get us to release from Puffy, I'm sure it would have been fairly easy to do. But there was no bidding war over her. She has retired from everything at this point. She's just a mom now. There's nothing wrong with that, but had she realized 2 years in, like, okay, I'm not really a singer like that. I just managed to luck up on a hit.
Yeah.
Let me be real with myself. I had to tell myself one day, I'm not going to be a great producer. I spent years making beats in my bedroom. And I said, I'm not that great. Let me try DJing. Okay, DJing, I'm actually kind of great. You gotta know how to quit and know how to pivot. And people who hold on to things too long, and I know that when you have a Diddy behind you and you have access to studios and you have the Kid Cudis coming in or whatever, but none of these songs are reacting year after year after year after year after year. Yeah. Whereas you see all your peers blowing up. You got to be real with yourself. And had she been real with herself early on, she could have been like, okay, the lifestyle's cool, but this whole career shit he's doing is some bullshit. I'm out. Could have saved herself a lot of heartache.
You know what's so funny? And I was watching this little controversy go on, and I hated the fact that people were even in, and I wondered why you even responded to it. In 2024, could someone really say Vlad doesn't deserve a voice in hip hop? Is that like a real thing? You know what I mean? The content you make, your platform affect the culture. Like I literally, people know me for these epic rants, right? And they've wondered recently, well, why you haven't been cussing anybody out? I said, man, like all the validation I needed was kind of like sit back, watch Drake use a sample of mine on my stream, and then hear Kendrick also mention me, and it's just like, why am I going to be arguing with you where you're like, yo, why does this guy get to talk about hip hop? We don't respect him. I'm affecting culture. I'm sorry, sir. Or I'm sorry, ma'am. You were having some hip hop opinions, which I enjoy your tweets. Vlad, very active on Twitter. You were tweeting and someone's told you to mind your business.
Yeah.
Explain the thoughts you were trying to convey, and then when you saw that, what happened?
Right. So if you remember, right after Drake drops Family Matters, like right afterwards, like I think it was like an hour or 30 minutes, Kendrick drops They Not Like Us. It happened so quickly that when I heard it, the initial version of it sounded like a very rough mix, which kind of made sense because he dropped it so quickly. I think it was a timing thing. So I said, I put in a tweet, I said, Kendrick's new record, the mix quality takes away from the impact of the actual record. Which, you gotta understand, for the last 16 years, I have to review video and audio every day. I have to look at mix quality. That's part of my job almost 365 days a year. This is what I do. I have people on my staff that all they do is audio. So audio quality is a very big thing, And also, if you think about it, right? If you go into most like big studios, there's usually a white guy who's the engineer. You know what I mean? It's just
sound is listen, I completely get what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When I used to do videos before I showed my face, and I remember trying to create a in-car studio because I had a regular job. Like audio is so fucking important.
Yeah, it's important.
And when you deal with audio, you notice stuff.
Exactly.
I'll even give you a little tidbit. The game sends me a song. He wants to diss Rick Ross. I waited. He basically said, "Ak, I'm sending you the song. It's cooked up. I'm killing him." I said, "All right, cool. Send me the song. I'm ready to premiere it." He says, "I'm gonna send you this song as soon as my engineer did it, but I want DJ. I think it was either DJ Quick or DJ Premier. Like somebody was gonna mix and master it."
Right.
And I was like, "All right." So I announced it, and everyone's like, "You fucking liar." You know how people are. Like, when is the song coming out? When is it coming out? I'm hitting the game. Yo, game. Bro, I've announced it now. When is this coming? When are you going to give it to me? Yeah, I'm just trying to get with this guy. Anyway, I say all that to say, he realized how timing was important, that he agreed. He said, I'm going to have you put out the version that isn't fully mixed and mastered properly.
Right, which I think is what Kendrick did.
A lot of people who are sound aficionados and people that work with sound, they noticed. Right. The regular fan didn't.
I was not the only person saying this. I was literally seeing this chatter on my timeline with producers talking about this. So I just chimed in. Didn't say it was a bad record. Didn't say anything about the quality, or I've always said I've been a Kendrick fan, etc. So of course you get the responses. Bomani Jones responded, was like, yo, I don't care about the mixed quality. He called Drake a colonizer. Like, this is a big deal. And then me and him had a little bit of a back and forth. He's like, yeah, and Prince. Even Prince admitted some of his favorite songs didn't have a good mix, like Raspberry, like, oh, If I Was Your Girlfriend. Wait. Something like that.
Bomani Jones hopped in this?
Yeah, this is early. In the
Yo, Vlad, I know you don't like pop your shit, but pop your shit, man. When you're having, like, your job is to talk to musicians, for the most part. You talk to musicians about music.
I'm talking to a sports guy right now.
Right? And then when you talk about music, you hear somebody else, like, just completely be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like you just started yesterday.
Everyone's looking at it from a different perspective. And I'm trying to explain my perspective, they're explaining their perspective. We're both right to our own regard, but it is what it is, right? So I get a response from someone I've never heard of before, who says, "You are white," capital letters. This is black. This is black business.
Yeah.
Essentially, stay out of it. When I looked, the person was a Princeton professor. In their bio, it was Princeton, blah 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 blah. And in the moment, I really wasn't thinking about the big picture of it all.
Yeah.
Right? I'm thinking, this is a Princeton professor, and I went to UC Berkeley myself, so I'm, I understand the importance of Ivy Leagues and the stature of these universities and everything else like that. So I start arguing back and forth with her, and I'm like tagging Princeton in my responses. And I'm thinking in my head at the time, I'm just arguing with a professor. I'm not looking at the big picture of this is a white man arguing with a black woman and tagging her job and everything else like that.
Yeah.
Right? I've never, and I'm like, I think she's trolling me, so I'm kind of trolling her back. Right?
Which, by the way, in context, let me tell you this, and I used to go through that on Twitter. I used to feel, I don't know what it is, if you're on Twitter at the right time, you're going to see that one tweet, and we're both popular. So we do see a lot of people troll us or say bad things. But sometimes we're human. We'll see that one tweet, and for whatever reason...
Yeah, you get triggered.
Yes.
And I just got triggered off that tweet because I'm like, because I'm like, do you talk to your students that way? Do you tell your white students or your Asian students that they can't comment on things that are not the same race as them? This is you must be trolling. You must be trolling. You're clearly intelligent to be a Princeton professor, and you must be trolling. So we're going back and forth with this. And then it turns into this white man is trying to get this black woman fired. And I'm now understanding sort of the repercussions of what I'm doing and understand the double standard of this. Because if it was a white professor telling a black music blogger, don't comment on Taylor Swift, this is white business and you're black, it would be taken a very different type of way. And me being white, I don't always understand the social ramifications of.
I don't feel you play the color lines like that when you're speaking about hip hop. Like that's one thing I think people.
But this is the way.
This is how it's being played out.
This is the way it played out, and I'm not thinking I'm arguing with a black woman. I'm thinking I'm arguing with a Princeton professor, which supersedes that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We all have a color and a gender, but I'm thinking you being a professor, you're held to a higher standard. And as this thing starts to grow and grow and grow, it's being painted as Vlad's trying to get this black woman fired. And then what I realized as I'm looking through some of the comments, I didn't notice her last name. Her last name was Jerkins. She is the niece of Rodney Jerkins, the producer, who I actually know, who I've interviewed at his home.
Really?
And we've actually kept in contact over the years.
No.
And I'm like, oh, man. Like,
how do you realize all this?
Because I'm seeing the comments. They're like, oh, are you Rodney Jerkins? Are you related to him? She's like, yeah, that's my uncle. And I'm like, and this is someone I
see red on social media. Like, that's why I don't try to respond on Twitter. But so you respond, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna get at you, and you probably picked her out of everybody by saying, hey, you have something to lose. That's the thing about when people say stuff about me. I'm like, y'all want me to lose my livelihood, lose my platform. Y'all want me to not ever exist. But of course, you don't have a profile picture. Your profile picture is NBA young boy.
Right. No, this is a real Princeton professor.
Yeah.
Right. But she's not a music person. She's a writer. So she's not really understanding what I'm even saying. I don't think. You see what I'm saying? But I felt like it was a very bigoted statement because you're a teacher, right? You're teaching students. You're not at a HBCU. You're at a university that's everyone, white, black, Asian, Spanish, Indian. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't believe this person's actually could publicly say such a bigoted statement to say you're white, this is black business. Don't talk about the sound quality of our black artists. Like, so, but then I realized, this is Rodney Jerkins' niece. And then, things are building and we were on the first page of Reddit and trending and everything else like that. And so I thought about it and I'm like, wasn't really trying to get her fired. Like, I wasn't calling. I wasn't actually.
That's what they were running with. They're like, yo, Vlad is probably calling the school president.
I've never called anyone. I've never done this period in my life. I've never tried to get, I don't even know how to do that, but it was never really my intention. I was just trolling. It's like, okay, let me tag Princeton. You go, blah, blah. And then it's like, yeah, I'm like, all right, let me just, because people are like, oh, it's Monday, you calling Princeton today? And I'm like, all right, let me clear the air. And I made a tweet. I said, listen, just to clear the air, I never had any intention of getting her fired. She trolled me. I trolled her back. This is an interesting discussion about race relations in America. She instantly responded. She's like, "You're a liar. You're tagging my, you're tagging my job, boy." And she screen captured all the stuff like that.
You're like, I ain't gonna lie, you're better than me. Like, I'm not apologizing to the person who was trying to troll me to begin with. You know how much shit I deal with, man? Man, the person who gets it got to get it for everybody else. The motherfucker who's getting that one response, and it's not that, like, they try to make it super racial with you. Bro, Vlad, didn't I tell you this way before, though? I say, Vlad, I have no idea how you just constantly just take attack on attack on attack and don't respond. Because the natural human thing is to respond. And maybe after a while you realize, you know what, if I respond to everybody all the time, I'll never get anything done. Right. But you're going to respond to one person.
Yeah, so here's what happened, right? So I personally, I put that statement out because I'm like, I'm not really trying to get her fired. And honestly, me tagging that, it was like sort of like, it's not me. And I got caught up in a moment, and it's not who I am. And let me just put that out there. She's like, oh, it's lies or whatever. So then Rodney Jerkins hits me.
Really?
He texted me. He said, thank you for not, keep, going hard at my niece, right? So I said, yo, can we talk? He's like, sure. So we get on the phone. And I'm like, look, man, I'm like, first of all, had I known, I didn't notice the last name. Had I known this was someone related to you, I wouldn't have even said anything because out of the respect that I have for you and our relationship, And I'm like, I don't know if you know how this story has developed, but my initial comment was simply about Kendrick's mix quality. And he said, stop right there. You're absolutely right. The mix quality was rough. And this is super producer Rodney Jerkins saying this, who has 100 million records under his belt. And so me and him have a conversation about it. And I'm like, is she interested in getting on the phone? Is she interested in having conversations? Is she interested in maybe even getting on the platform? And we could all talk about it. He spoke to her. She has no interest in speaking to you, anything else like that, whatever else. I said, okay, that's fine. That's her choice. So the next day I thought about it, the whole thing, and I'm like, why is this not sitting right on me? And I realized it was because of the whole tagging of the university and everything else like that. So, me and a couple people that are close to me had a couple conversations about this, and they kind of explained it, from a different perspective and everything else like that. And really it was just an argument over Twitter. No one's job should be affected by it. And me doing that and being like a Karen and everything else like that, that's not who I am. So the next day I put out a statement that I'd like to apologize to Morgan Jenkins for, tagging her job in my replies. I was wrong for that. Now, of course, people are like, oh, that wasn't sincere because it was too short. It took too long. I think it was like 2 days after or whatever else. And my thing is like, I know how these things get picked apart. Every word is going to get picked apart. I purposely made it very short to just get straight to the point.
Vlad, you're a better man than me. I would have tagged her job, Dyfus. I would have tagged everybody. Let me tell you, Vlad.
But you don't have the racial aspect of it. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're right.
And the reality is there's a double standard when it comes to this. If it's a white person, like I said, if it was a black person,
Vlad, it's sad that
this by a white person, it'd be a totally different.
No, Vlad, listen. It's sad that you can't even explain yourself beyond the racial element because there is a racial element. I get it. Yeah. But the reality of it is I get attacked a lot. Like, I'm telling you, I looked at someone recently who they were getting attacked and they spoke up and everyone felt sorry for them. I'm like, I want somebody to think about logging in my account. You know how many people who say you should die, you fat motherfucker?
All the time.
I get the worst comments on earth.
Yeah.
You have to be mentally strong to deal with them. I have to be that person. Yeah. From time to time, I do fucking slip up. Yeah. One time I typed, this happened about a month ago. Thank God I didn't hit send. Because I thought the person responded to me, they didn't respond to me. But for whatever reason, what they said hit with me. And I'm seeing everybody say the worst things in the world to me. And here's the thing. And listen, you can't say it, but I'll say it. When you guys are getting at people who are in positions of power, bro, you're not doing it in a nice way. Y'all are basically, people are wishing for my death, wishing for me not to make a living. I get the whole tagging of the college thing, but y'all don't want me to make a living either. So it does hit different when I feel like, hey, you have something to lose too. Because I can't just say, we're humans. Sometimes we say mean things or we do mean things just to kind of make ourselves feel better because someone else is doing something else that's making us not feel good. But when you're dealing with the majority of people who have nothing to lose, you see, if it's a random troll, they have nothing to lose. You don't say nothing.
I even say, they're like, how come you only respond to her? Because
you have something to lose.
Everyone else, because you're a college professor. But my whole thing is, it was that the whole tagging the job thing, it didn't sit right with me and who I am. Were people canceling interviews? No. Was my conversation with Rodney Jerkins anything but respectful? It was 100% respectful from both of us. He never told me what I should do. He never said, he never influenced me. He explained, and he was like, yo, man, we love our niece. She's a very smart girl. She went to Princeton.
I still don't think that's fair, man. Neither you nor me should be a sponge for just people's hate and their desire to try to kick somebody down. If you made any type of statement that was possibly anti-black, I wouldn't even be saying, I would be saying, Vlad, you should apologize because you were fucking wrong. You made a musical opinion and they turned it into a racial thing and not realizing you're a fucking human. There's a lot of times you're not talking about racial things. You're just talking about this culture that you've been a part of, you've contributed to. By the way, I don't think you run around and parade here like, hey, I'm the white guy that's... No, you know where you stand at. You respect all the people that's built this. You respect artists that's within it. I think you're super respectful, right?
I respect black women. Majority of my life, my relationship has been with black women. My whole thing is, am I apologizing for my original tweet about the sound quality? No. Do I feel that her response to me wasn't a bigoted statement? No, it was a bigoted statement. But me tagging the university, I was wrong for that, and I apologized for that, and I kept the apology to that. Now, of course, when I apologized, when I did the actual apology, there was no comment from her at that point. She didn't acknowledge that at all. She called me a liar about the trolling thing, but but that's her choice. She could. I wasn't doing it, to get a reaction out of her. It was like it didn't feel right for me because I don't do that. I don't report people's jobs and whatever else. Like I don't do that, and that part didn't feel right to me, which is why I apologized and why I stand behind my apology to this day.
Hey, for any of y'all hoes on Twitter, hey, listen, you know me, I'm black. Yo, y'all go there with me. Y'all go low, I go to hell with y'all. Of course, I'll tag your job. I heard your man cheating. Somebody got me some information. I'm doing all that. Yeah. I don't see what you did was wrong, but I also understand it because I think you, as an adult who not only have a relationship with her people, you also understand where you fit into hip hop. Yeah. I remember when I apologized to Chrissy Teigen. I didn't really apologize to Chrissy. I apologized to women who were offended by what I said to Chrissy Teigen because I felt she wronged me as well, right? Yeah. And for me, I do believe that two wrongs do make a right, okay? But the reason why I apologized to her, I remember I went into Everyday Struggle and Nadeska said, when you described her like that, I felt away. And I was just like, I didn't want you to feel away. Yeah. And that was my apology. And I think that's what your apology is too. Because
I don't want
Vlad, I've read you said shit on your fucking Twitter, like just musical shit or whatever, or like maybe about a hip hop topic I don't agree with. You get what I'm saying? Right. And I'm like, hey, Vlad's getting this shit off. It is what it is. I'm like, all right, the next time we do an interview, I guess we're going to argue about it. But you know what I would never do? Be like, yo, Vlad, how dare you have an opinion?
Yeah, man, listen. And like, for example, if you watch The Breakfast Club, they were like, we don't see what Vlad did was wrong. I mean, everyone, Vlad should be entitled to his opinion about whatever genre he wants to talk about. She should have her right to say whatever she wants, and there's repercussions for both. If you want to be a college professor and if you want to put out bigoted statements,
Charmaine, they get you back on that. I like that.
Yeah, whatever happens. And if I want to say and if I want to respond and tag a university, then I'm going to have to deal with the repercussions about that. Everything else like that. But at the end of the day,
I'm waiting for.
I knew. I had to sit there and say I'm wrong for this, and it's not me. I didn't actually do it. She still has her job. No one's announced that she's not working at Princeton anymore. I never called in anything. You could, feel free to check Princeton's records and ask. I have nothing to do with that. And I was wrong for that, and I felt bad. Like, it was literally for a couple of days. I'm like, I felt bad, like, in my heart. And it wasn't because I needed to do it. It's because I felt as who I am, that's not really me. So I should publicly apologize, because no one's too big to apologize when they're wrong. And in my sense, in that case, I felt like I was wrong with that part of it. I'm not going to stop. I continue to comment about Kendrick and Drake. I continue to be white and talk about, black issues when applicable, and I will continue to do that. No one's going to ever tell me that I can't do that. And, it is what it is. A lot of people who didn't like me still don't like me.
Hey, y'all little Jezebels on Twitter, man. I am not Vlad. If you say some vile shit about me, you better not have no LinkedIn link in your bio. I'm telling you, I'm going there, I'm clicking on it, I'm going to look at everything. I'm the type of petty person, I'll go give your school a loan to get you out of here. I have no remorse because y'all don't have no remorse for me. I can't show, like Pac said it, I can't show compassion for y'all when y'all don't got no compassion for me. You know what I mean? I read the comments about myself, and it's the most vile things. They act like I'm Bin Laden. They act like I'm Kim Jong-un. I'm Putin. So it is what it is. Anyway, we'll talk about somebody you really do have beef with, though.
Who's that?
This is a real beef.
Who's that?
I think you started this whole thing.
Okay.
Young Blue.
No, I didn't start it.
Young Blue was happily on Empire chilling. He was a former Boosie artist. He did do an interview on Vlad TV. And then all of a sudden I see
two interviews.
Exactly. Young Blue is now writing a 5-page paper explaining how Vlad has manipulated Boosie into wanting money. Boosie says he wants $2 million. Where is this conversation at now? And because I've seen Blue seems like he's really getting upset, and he's taking aim at you too, Vlad.
Yeah, I know. Look, the way it worked was Boosie approached me and said, I just signed this R&B artist. Can you please interview him? And I said, okay, but you got to sit in on the interview also for me to do this. Because everyone's got artists that they sign and whatever else. So as a favor to you, and if you sit in, I'll go ahead and do it. That was Blue's first big interview, right? And then after that, Blue continued to do well. Then he got that Drake feature. So I reached out and I said, hey, do you want to do an interview again? He's like, sure. Came in, did another interview, talked about the Drake feature. And I said, so you're signed to Boosie? And he's like, well, I'm not technically signed. And then Boosie sort of flipped when he saw that. Because if you look at all of Young Blue's interviews and his tweets, he's saying the exact opposite. So some sort of thing happened between him and Boosie. That's really between him and Boosie. They're all going to do different sides of it. So Boosie starts going off and whatever else, and Blue ended up doing this whole thing basically accusing me of manipulating the situation to see two black men going at it.
Yeah, he's been saying that a lot. I said, hey, by the way, that's a great narrative to get you out of here, Vlad. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah. Like, once they say, yo, the white man is getting us to fight.
Use the racial part. So I said, okay, fuck this. So I basically broke down the history of what happened, and this is why. Here's the interview here. Here's a clip saying I'm signing Boosie. Here's our interview a year later saying I'm not signing Boosie. So, and really, this is a business situation between these two. Don't put me in the middle of it. So he got on the phone with me, and we had a long conversation privately about it.
You and Bleu?
Me and Bleu.
Really?
And I was like, listen, bro, I'm like, don't try to pull this racial card because it's not about that. It's about this. He's like, all right, my bad on that. It's just, I have problems getting Boosie on the phone. I've tried to work it out with him, but he doesn't get back to me and blah, blah. And there's the whole thing with Boosie's brother that's sort of convoluted and whatever else, but I'm trying to work it out and whatever. And if you could just not comment on this in the future, it would help me out. And I said, okay, I'm going to give you a solid. And I just won't, during my Boosie interviews, I just won't bring this up. Cool, done. My next 2 or 3 Boosie interviews, I didn't mention it. Boosie gets locked up, right? Over the gun charge.
Yep, San Diego.
Young Blue texts me and says, yo, Boosie needs $50,000 for his defense. I said, huh? I said, really? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, well, let me get back to you on that. And I'm thinking, well, I have to talk to Boosie about this. I'm not just going to give you $50,000.
Wait, Bleu said that to you?
Bleu said that. I can show you the text.
Wait, why would Bleu be just saying, hey, he needs $50K?
Let me show you.
Did he say to you like, hey, we need to come up with this? Is he like that sounds odd.
Oh, I was wrong. Well, hold on. Read the top. Read it.
Boosie need $100K for his lawyer for his federal case. I got $50K. Can you put the other half? He called me today.
So now I'm being put in a situation where, according to Bleu, my man, who I've done a lot of business with, is also I consider a friend, needs $50K.
Yeah.
Now, if he really needs it, I'm going to need to come up with it.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's held me down. We've way more than $50K has changed hands between us over the years. So.
You and Boosie, way more than business partners. Definitely in the friend category.
Yeah. I've been to his home multiple times, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sitting there stressing over this $50K. Right? Like, okay, like what's going to happen here? And then Boosie gets out, and then we schedule an interview right after he gets out. So I go to Boosie, I say, yo.
Does he say, yo, Vlad, why you ain't sending that fucking $50K?
No, here's what happened. I go to Boosie, I said, what's up with this whole thing of Young Blue asking me for $50K and he's going to put up the other $50K? You know what Boosie says?
What?
This is all a lie. I never asked for $50K. I don't need $50K from you. This is all bullshit.
What the fuck?
Yeah. We talked about this in our interview on camera. So I'm just like, man, fuck Young Blue then. Like, you know what I mean? What the fuck? I said, all right. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, whatever deal we had, understanding we have is off the table.
Why do you think Bleu, so Bleu, he came here and he actually told me, he said, yo, I offered him $2 million or something like that. And I was just like, wait, you offered Boosie a good amount? He's like, yeah, I offered him an amount to make him whole. He didn't want to take, I don't know if it was $2 million. Maybe it was
I don't think it was $2 million.
Maybe it was a couple hundred K.
Boosie wants, and Boosie claims.
Oh, he offered him $300K or something.
Yeah, exactly. And from what I understand, Boosie feels like he's owed $2 million, but he feels that Bleu bought a house for that money. And that's why he's not going to pay him.
That big ass house in Alabama?
Well, yeah, I don't know
wherever he lives at. That shit look like a castle.
I think it was in Georgia, actually.
Oh, Georgia. Okay, damn.
Yeah. I've never been there, so I don't think I'm getting an invite anytime soon.
You didn't get invited to the pool party? They had the big ass pool party. I seen Wallow Gilly there.
Well, who? No. Wait, Boosie or Blue?
Blue.
I'm not invited to Blue's house.
No, Blue. Yeah, Blue.
No,
You know, you ain't seen the Moon Boy University?
No, I did not.
What? The yellow spot?
He blocked me on Instagram. So.
Oh, man.
But that's at that moment. And notice how Blue's not addressing that. This is the text.
No,
you just saw it.
No, I did read it.
I'll let you check the number if you want.
Yeah, Blue. Yeah, Blue. I did read it. I got to be honest, Blue. I seen it. Okay.
And from according to Boosie,
he's probably gonna say this though. Let me play devil's advocate. Yo, well, if me and Boosie ain't been sitting eye to eye, and he got to call me or somebody on his behalf, I'm guessing somebody on his behalf.
He said he didn't even talk to Blue.
Well, maybe he's like somebody on his behalf called me for money. That's why I reached out to Vlad, because I don't really rock with dude like that. But still, I'm gonna help out. But I got $50K. That's not my business, so I hit this man Vlad. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of this, Vlad. Come on.
50,000 is a lot of money, man.
No, it is.
Don't. For everyone who's watching, don't think that for people like me or academics, 50,000 is just like whatever. Like that's a lot of fucking money. Like,
of course,
there was years where I didn't make 50,000 in a year. You know what I'm saying? Like in certain parts of my life, like that's a lot of fucking money. That could change someone's life. So to ask someone for 50,000, then to find out that it's not even legit. Boosie, that's when Boosie sold his one of his Rolls Royces.
Yeah.
And he basically said, I am never going to be at the point where I ask another man for money for my own situation.
I'm actually even surprised that he had to sell that car though. Like Boosie got $50K.
But I don't. He doesn't need $50K. Like whatever the amount is.
Yeah.
He's also building on his house and everything else like that. There's other stuff going on. But it was like, all right, I need the money. Here's a car. I don't really drive that much. Boom, sell the car. I got another $200K at my disposal. Because Boosie's not like a stock guy where he's investing a bunch of money and everything's liquid and he can pull it out. I'm getting Boosie on stocks right now. I'm slowly teaching him how to invest in stocks. Well, not teaching, but just showing him. Yeah,
because with stocks, it's like one quick transaction and be like, yo, it'll be wired to the bank the next couple days.
Boosie puts all his money back into his house. He's got like 7 homes on his property. He just bought another 26 acres. He's got fucking his kids all have multi-level houses on his property. So Boosie is like, he doesn't have the money sitting around. It's always being used on something.
Okay, he's building.
So for him, it was like, if I need cash for my lawyers, let me just get rid of one of my assets, which is a car that I don't drive, boom. But that was the whole thing of it, was like, I wasn't even talking about Blue at all until this. And it was really a what the fuck kind of moment.
So what do you think Blue was trying to do? Do you think Blue was just trying to, what was the goal?
I mean, he told me he talked to Boosie. Boosie said they never talked while he was locked up.
You think he was just fucking lying?
I don't know. But
you think he's lying or trying to finesse you? It gotta be one of them.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but whatever it is,
sketchy.
I was like, nah, we not good. We're not good after this. Because it's just not true. I'm talking to the guy, and he's telling me, I don't need it, Vlad. I'm cool. Like, I would never ask you for this. Not only would I not ask you for it, I wouldn't ask anyone for it.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, clearly me and Blue aren't cool like that. So now I'm going back to talking about him again. Now it's like, because Blue is a topic that obviously reacts when I talk to Boosie. So by me not doing that, I'm technically losing money in a certain type of way. So it's like, okay, I'm doing you the solid. He's like, yo, and I'll do it. Once it's all cleared out, I'll do an interview with you and whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm not trying to cause problems. But when this happened, I'm like, all right, whatever. Deals are off. And then that's when Blue, later on, that's when he dropped the fucking, the diss record. Whatever else.
Well, before he gets to the diss record.
Flopped. The album flopped in comparison to what he did before. So clearly, and he made a big post trying to explain why his streams aren't that high, but
he said he never did big first week numbers.
Whatever. The numbers are still the numbers. It's not you can't compare what he did to the previous album. So whatever he's going through and whatever stance he's taking, clearly the fans are not reacting the same way as they did before.
I seen, and I think they even reached out to me. It was him and I think Boosie's brother or somebody of the sort. They were like, "Hey, we want to explain what's going on."
Yeah.
And the guy was down to do interviews. I think he did do a couple interviews. I think he did one with No Jumper.
Who's his brother?
Whoever, somebody in the Boosie Young Blue
GQ, I
situation.
think?
Yes. And he essentially said Boosie signed for this guy to be released and now is acting like he didn't sign for it. And really, he didn't sign. I signed for Boosie, but I signed everything for Boosie.
Yeah. So this whole thing about forged signatures, the whole thing about forged signatures and whatever else, which is really just fucking messy. It's just messy. The whole thing is messy. And now Boosie's claiming this guy forged signatures for Bleu as well, and I don't fucking know. I don't know. This is what other people are saying. I don't know. I have no business involvement in what's happening between Boosie, Bleu, and his brother. I'm not involved in this deal on any level. My involvement with Boosie is interviews.
Well, your platform kind of discussed it. It'll probably get to court. Anyway, let me do a quick rapid fire. I think we've been on here for a minute. Did you see the new footage of Polo G's mom shooting at his sister?
It's her daughter, right?
Yes.
Insane.
So, I've said this to Polo G. So this was a rumor I was hearing, right?
And isn't Polo G's brother charged with murder right now?
Vlad.
I know he has a family of shooters.
Vlad. There was 3 to 4 people in the industry, cameramans, people who are again, they're not artists, but they're ancillary to and they're whatever. They told me, they said, hey, listen, we went to work with what we thought was Polo G. His brother robbed us. So what he robbed you of? You're a fucking kid. You're not rich. He took our camera. He took this. He went through our pockets. No other guy. He took his chain, forced him to wire money or send money on his phone. All types. And I remember hearing this. I was just like, this doesn't sound right. I know these guys are from Chicago, but it's impossible. This was like a cautionary tale for me, right? For example, and I'm putting a little bit of my personal experience. My mama sometimes would be like, she calls me Junior because I got the same name as that. She said, you need to, don't surround yourself with too much strangers. You need to have family around. But that is a good thing, but it's not a good thing. For example, that's what's going on with Polo G. He brought his sister along, his brother along, and his mom is his manager. His brother, he tried to make an artist, didn't work out. What he could rely back on is, well, I was a thug and I was a goon back in Chicago. So now I'm around these rich guys. Let me just show them I'm like that. The sister, she has no disrespect to her. She has no marketable talents, but she's running around as a diva because we're living in the shade room era. Then the mom is managing slightly the business, but also are managing kids. And if you ever have to talk to somebody who's kind of dealing with both, it's very complicated. And also she's in the limelight as well. It's now turned into a situation. The brother's locked up for murder and a bunch of robberies. The sister just published the video that the mom is shooting at her. Polo G, imagine Polo G, a guy who has multi-platinum records.
He got caught with a gun recently also.
Got caught with a gun in a Manhattan hotel room by the maid. What do you think about, and it doesn't have to be about Polo G, but people hear this a lot. You should keep your family around you when you make it to the top. I think, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you need professionals.
Yeah.
You need professionals around you.
Yeah. I don't agree with any of that. I've always kept my family at a distance. I ran into Polo G. I did one of Polo G's first interviews. And then, and he even told me how when he was in jail, he wrote that on a piece of paper, one of my goals to get a Vlad TV interview.
Really?
Yeah. We had a good interview. It was cool. And then he blew up after that. And then one day, remember Annalie Chopper? Me and him kind of had some back and forth. Annalie Chopper, before that, had wrote, DJ Vlad's the police. And then Polo G was like, I agree, or something like that.
Did he?
Yeah. And I'm like, huh? So I'm in Calabasas at the bank. This is during the pandemic. And I'm looking in line, and Polo G's in line in the same bank.
Do you instantly recognize him?
Yeah. And he instantly recognizes me. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, what's up?
He says, what's up?
We both say what's up.
Oh shit!
We both recognize each
When
other.
I hear people say to you like, "You're the cop," I imagine they're like, "Oh, the police is here. Let's leave. Let's run off."
No, it's not like I've interviewed him, like, you know. So we see each other and we recognize each other, and I'm like, "Hey, when you're done, can we go outside and talk?" He's like, "Sure." And he has his brother with him, who's very.
We're talking about Trench Baby.
I guess.
That's the guy who got arrested.
Multiple brothers?
No, the one who got arrested, his name is Trench Baby.
See, I'm not sure if it's that brother or someone else, but it looked like a little dude. Like he wasn't.
Oh,
it didn't look like a bodyguard. It looked like a little homie or something.
Yeah, all I know is his brother got arrested. His name is Trench Baby, and every time people tell me a story about it, I'm like, why would you trust that you would be safe around somebody named Trench Baby? Go ahead, though.
So we go outside. It's me, him. And
You have security or no?
Huh? No, I'm by myself.
You're at the bank, though. Federally protected.
I'm in Calabasas.
Yeah.
You know? And so we just talk. And I'm like, I'm like, yo, like, when you were first starting out, I invited you to my platform.
You confronted him?
Yeah. Well, not confronted. Like, I'm not.
Or not like also antagonistic, like, yo, I'm.
No, I'm just like, yo, like, why tweet that out publicly with the platform, with the following that you have? He was like, yo, like, some of the questions you asked potentially can get certain artists in trouble. And he, I think he mentioned like Tusi or something. He was like, yeah, when you ask Tusi, you know, does he feel like he need to get, does he feel like he would want to get revenge for the dudes that shot like his grandfather or something like that potentially, whatever. And I'm like, bro, I mean, you ask people their feelings. Like, you know, just because you ask someone something doesn't mean that they're going to go and do it. Like, we all have our feelings about shit. And, you know, nothing I've ever said has ever hemmed anybody up, regardless of what you may think people are saying on the internet. You see how I'm saying? This is before the whole Keffe D situation, whatever else. And I'm just like, I'm just disappointed that you would publicly say that when you could get a hold of me. Like, if you have a problem with something I'm doing, you could just DM me, you know, or hit me up. I'm easy to reach, you know. Because now I feel you, you know, but, you know, and I'm like, I understand your point as well. Let's just exchange numbers, whatever else. And I'm like, yeah. I remember I texted him at one point. He didn't respond, and that was it. But you know, it seems like artists get to a certain point and they start to just, their egos start to get big, and they feel like they don't need to, they're almost like the rules don't apply to them. You know, the younger Polo G would have been like, oh, this dude put me on my platform. I'm having a problem somebody's doing. Let me just reach out to him and say, hey, thank you for putting me on. I don't like when you do this. And we could have a conversation, whatever else, as opposed to publicly insulting somebody. You know what I mean? And I think that's the problem with certain artists, is that they get big and they feel like they're too big to deal with reality. Yeah, I'm going to carry a gun. And when I get caught, my lawyer will take care of it. Yeah, my brother's doing whatever, but I got the money and I'll just bail him out. Yeah, my mom's shooting off her gun. But yeah, whatever, who cares? You know, I'll pay for everything. I'll you know, I'm Polo G. The judge is probably a fan of mine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, somehow in their head, they start to feel like the rules don't apply. I think Polo G is a victim of that. Because as you can see, everything around him is turning into chaos. Yeah. And that gun charge in New York,
no joke.
That's a no joke charge. You don't carry a gun in, you know, Sebastian Telfair just got off house arrest after 5 years over a gun in New York. And he was bringing it from Florida. They pulled him over. They found it in there. It wasn't an illegal gun. It just wasn't registered in New York.
Wow.
So you bring a gun, you don't have a carry permit in New York, Polo G. Like, nobody does. None of us going to get them. Clearly, you brought that gun from someplace else, and now he's going to have to deal with the repercussions of that. And that's the problem, is that no matter how much money you get, how many fans you get, you know, people like Tory, you can let the internet puff your head up to think that the rules don't apply to you. And then you find out the rules actually do apply to you.
Yeah.
In the worst possible way. It's his brother, a murder charge. I wonder if that's the little dude that was there when I was talking to him.
Probably.
Now, I wasn't aggressive with Polo G at all.
You better be lucky.
But I stood my ground.
Would everybody tell me, Trench Baby, crash out?
Yeah, no, he just stood there quietly, watched us talk. He wasn't, his little brother or whoever that wasn't trying to, whatever. He just sat there and watched us. You know, he was letting grown folks talk, basically. You know, and it was like, I didn't feel threatened by him, but I wasn't threatening with him either. But I was addressing what he said as I should.
I feel bad for Polo G because you're the one with the talent. You're the one that has brought this fame upon yourself. You chose to try to make this a family business, except you've had family turmoil, and that still will continue despite it now being business. Yeah. And now, since you've now platformed these people who are family business now becomes
your business.
Not only your business, TMZ business.
TMZ
so
business,
yeah, I hope everything goes good for him. Hey, real quick,
I got nothing against him, man. I hope he does well. I hope he learns from his mistakes because he's lucky enough to get past this, you know, a certain hump. And I remember, I'd asked him about Young Chop, because I guess originally he had signed to Young Chop, but then he ended up leaving Young Chop, and I think there was some bad feelings. I remember when I talked about Young Chop in the interview, they asked me to take that part out. And I come to find out that there's sort of some bad situations that happened with that.
Yeah.
Young Chop, I heard, is still locked up, by the way.
He's incarcerated?
Yeah.
I was wondering, I'm like, yo, where the hell he been at?
Yeah, so for animal cruelty and
animal cruelty?
Apparently he had, like, I don't know, tortured a dog or something.
No way.
Or I don't know. It was something crazy. He shot off a gun, and apparently he's still, like, I think he's, like, in Georgia in some mental institution or something like that. Yeah.
Hey, all I remember is that he started barking up the wrong tree, and from what was being said, a few of them trees started barking back. And gladfully, like, I know it's going to sound fucked up what I'm about to say, I'm glad he didn't get hurt, because I'm hearing that there was a lot of things in play that may have jeopardized him, you know?
I mean, Young Chop is kind of like, he's like the Dr. Dre of Chicago drill.
Yeah, like, Chief Keef just went back to Chicago. I actually wanted to see Chop come out on stage. You produce, have him his.
He was locked up.
Wow.
He was not able to make that show. You know, Lil Reese should have made the show, though. He has no excuse.
Yeah. I want to ask you, what do you think about this? A situation that is near and dear to both of us. We've talked about it. I think I've talked about it on your platform. You've talked about it on my platform. Bun B testified about the home invasion where someone held a gun to his wife's head, and he came downstairs. They tried to run off. He shot the person, but the person did get away and survived, and they did get arrested. Now they were getting sentence. He did testify, or he gave a testimony at the sentence to, you know, like a victim statement. And essentially that person got 40 years. Some people are conflicted. Did he snitch? I think we need to stop this bullshit with snitching. I think we're just in the era already where, like, the more people keep saying snitching, you look stupid. It's like the person who keeps saying snitching, you keep looking at him like, yo, wait, you still believe in that? Like, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Bun B is a 50-something-year-old grandfather at this point. He's a business owner. He has a catalog of music that does talk about gangster music and stuff like that, but he is way beyond that. He was a victim in a home invasion that he protected himself for. I would have done the same thing. I would have shot up the dude, and I've had a home invasion situation, so I understand how these things play out. I would have shot up the dude as well. I probably would have tried to kill him, you know, if at all possible. And I would take the stand on him, because this is someone who came into my home. I want this motherfucker away forever. You know, put a gun to my family's head and everything else like that. Like, yo, fuck that dude. And at the end of the day, you have to call the police. You know, you just shot someone in your house. You have to call the police. What are you supposed to do, hide the body?
Yo,
go on the run, like, chop it up? Like people...
That's the internet say the dumbest shit. Yeah. They're like, yo, well, why you gotta take the stand? Listen, first and foremost, if somebody try to run your house, you're a law-abiding, taxpaying citizen. Yeah. You gotta protect yourself. They got a gun. Like, his wife, I don't even think would ever even forgive him if, like, he was like, nah, I gotta keep it straight. Nah, yeah. I can't.
Yeah, man,
what are you talking about?
It's dumb. And it's like, You can't hold a person to the music they made when they were in their teens and their 20s. They're a different person. Jay-Z would probably testify if given, be put in that same kind of situation.
As he should.
Someone came in and put a gun to Beyonce's head. You think Jay-Z's just going to let that person get probation and possibly come back and get revenge? Fuck that dude. I'm glad he got 40 years.
Yeah,
If he's in his 30s, he's going to get out of 70s, his dumbasses. Bun probably won't be alive by that point because Bun's in his 50s.
I personally think that dude got off light. I think he should have got a death sentence on.
Well, you can't get a death sentence if nobody dies.
No, I think Bun B should have just executed him. Yeah. Like, that was the only way. You know what I mean?
You bring a gun into someone's home, you should be prepared for that to be the last thing you ever do.
And also, I'm down for hefty penalties. Like, when it'd be like, if you speed through this construction zone, you get 3 times the fine. You do a crime in another man's home, in their domicile, where they rest their head, where they think they should have the ultimate safety and security. Yeah. You get 3 times the penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were in Texas, I believe, which is a stand your ground kind of state. Because it gets dicey, man. Like, I remember when I was in New York, when I got my guns in New York, the police explained to me that if someone breaks into my home, I pull out my gun, they turn around and run, and I shoot them in the back, I could be charged with murder.
Oh, yeah, they told me that too.
Yeah, it's wild. But in Texas, that shit don't apply.
Yeah, I asked them, they said, listen, they come in your house, they have all your earthly belongings in a bag. And they said, as long as they turn around, that they're running with the bag to leave, you cannot shoot them. You need to call the police at that point. They said, now, if you reasonably believe they have a weapon, they're facing you, and they stand a threat. I'm like, damn, I got to be like Tom Brady in this situation.
I believe in certain southern states that if you come home and see your wife in bed with another man, you could shoot them, and it's legal. Yeah, it's legal.
Oh, shit.
The South got some wild ass laws, man.
Hey, if you live in the Northeast, the only thing that might protect you, and I know Jersey recently went to the Supreme Court to basically, because they used to have this statute. This one guy, there's a notable case in Jersey. Mm-hmm. A guy broke into someone's house to steal. While stealing, he got injured. He did get arrested, but he sued the owner of the home for his injuries and won.
I've heard
shit's crazy.
Yeah, I've heard of stories like this, man.
There's something called the Castle Doctrine now that later basically says, hey, listen, even though you don't have self-defense rights in New York and New Jersey, if you're in your home, you don't have to flee. However, if the intruder is fleeing, you can't kill him.
This is why you should just kill him, and then there's really no testimony at that.
You gotta be on some OJ shit. Just flip the bodies, drag him over here,
shoot him in the front. Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah. You should just get rid of that person.
Hey, OJ passed away. Did you think anything? Like, I think everybody's hoping he left a secret manifesto or some shit like that. I mean, he did write a book. If I did do it, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of close, right?
If I did it, but then the book is sort of convoluted. I read through it.
You read through it?
Yeah, I was supposed to do an OJ interview, but
how much do you want?
Well, we made a deal because, he was running his business through this other guy, right, that would basically do cash deals and then probably give OJ the money on the back end. So the deal was going to be for $100,000. I was going to do it.
Really?
Yeah. And the deal was struck. And basically the understanding was we're not going to dig too heavily into the case. We're not going to talk about the blood evidence and all that other stuff that he can't really stand behind. But we're going to talk about his whole upbringing, whatever, leading up to the case, maybe how he felt during the case, and then the whole Las Vegas case. We're going to go into a deep dive into there, whatever. 100,000, Yeah,
you could have made that back.
I could have probably made that back.
As long as he's not giving out the same interview to everybody else. Yeah, exactly. You would have
probably made that back. The problem occurred was when we started getting to the details, he was like, okay, we're going to need it in cash. So I checked with my CFO. She was like, yeah, we could do it in cash, but we have to fill out W-9, do an invoice, whatever else. As long as we have a record of it, it's cool. Came back to him, cool, 100K cash, you got it. I said, so I'll have the 100K cash with me. I'll show it to you. As soon as the interview's done, I'll hand it to you. No. We want the money before he walks into the room.
Were they down to do the paperwork?
What do you mean?
Like the W-9 and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, he was fine with that.
Oh, so they just want the money as soon as they walk in.
They want the entire amount before the interview begins.
And which means you never know what they might deliver in terms of the questions.
I said I need about a 3-hour interview to justify this amount of money. He goes, that's fine. As long as you don't ask the wrong questions, he won't walk out. So I'm like,
wait, could you walk out on like a contracted gig like that? Like what are we doing?
This is the problem where I'm like, I can't pay you $100,000. He walks out after 15 minutes. Like I can't take that type of loss. I'll give you half up front, half the interview at the end of the interview.
You were working with them type shit.
No.
They said no.
I'll give you $75,000 up front, $25,000
really?
in an interview. No. He needs the whole amount. And I'm like, you do realize that he owes $30 million, right? And that he hasn't paid to the Goldman and the Brown family, right? So we're dealing with someone who already owes people tens of millions of dollars, and you want me to trust this person. This makes no fucking sense. You know what I mean? We're dealing with someone who's already shiesty.
Yeah.
He's like, well, there's more to that story, but, whatever, part of the money he owes is to the kids because the kids were part of the lawsuit as the grandparents or whatever else. And he never paid the money he owed. He died with a fucking bill. So ultimately, I couldn't bring myself to risk having him basically, because what am I supposed to do? If I have armed security, we're not going to shoot him as he's walking out.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to just take that loss.
Yeah.
So I just chose not to do it. Now, could have probably worked out well and everyone walked away happy? Probably.
In hindsight, do you wish you did do it?
Yes and no.
I
wish I did it. I wish I did it.
Unless he walked out. Unless he walked out, right?
But I don't regret
stand on
trying to maintain a good business agreement. Because the story I tell people, when they tell me I want all the money up front, I tell them I paid DMX $14,500 up front and he died before doing the interview.
And you can't get it back, obviously.
Yeah, his estate was a fucking mess. He owed all types of promoters money and whatever else. And I'm like, whatever, fuck that money. But that's the thing. You give someone money up front. I paid someone some money up front for an interview recently. He was a repeat guest. Suddenly he can't make it. You know what I mean? Like,
is he going to make it back up?
Hopefully. But I understand when I pay someone up front, there's a chance that they're just going to run off with it.
Yeah.
Because it's human nature to a certain degree.
Hey, by the way, and I know it's not interview based, but I've learned this being a homeowner. I live in this big ass house. Every time somebody shows up to my house, like I'll even get recommended from their services from somebody else that doesn't have the type of size of house or live in the community I do. And my price is like 3 to 5 times more.
Yeah.
Right? Then I'm one of those people who like I want to incentivize you to do a good job. Like she knows because I'm telling her right now, like, yo, hey, I pay this guy to install like I'm constantly doing these upgrades to security and this and third. Pay the motherfucker in full. And they always give you like, hey, if you pay in full, you save like 5%. All right, bro, just charge the whole thing.
Yeah.
Dude doesn't come back. Like, yo, it's like I'm begging him to come back. Yo, bro, when are you gonna come back? When are you coming back?
Yeah, man.
When are you coming? He's like, I'll show up maybe next week. He gives me a date, cancels. Gives me a date, cancel. Yeah. Nothing incentivizes motherfuckers more than when they got to get the other part of the check. You're right about that.
Or the full amount at that.
No,
I personally, 95% of my bookings, you get paid when the interview is completed.
You're right about
95%.
that. You're right about that.
And listen, sometimes, like a Vanilla Ice, I talked to his manager and they just insisted on the money up front, but we were going to Vanilla Ice's house to do it there and stuff like that. And Vanilla Ice is already really wealthy and so forth. So I said, all right, fuck it. Here's the money.
You got to make a judgment call. Yeah.
Every so often there's a judgment call. And
if I fucking Google you and you owe everybody money and you look like this money you need to run off with,
exactly.
Or this
You'll probably
money
run off with it. Yeah. For Vanilla Ice, 5,000 is literally nothing.
And also think about it too. If you know they're in financial trouble where by the time you give them the money before you do the interview, they already spent it. They have zero incentive to do the interview because they already said, I'm doing this for free. In their mind, they're saying they're doing this for free. They're not saying.
So you have to base it on the integrity of the person. Not everyone has integrity. So I mean, I've learned, and I've taken. I paid Keffe D. I forgot how much it was. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but he asked for a deposit.
Yeah.
This was after he got arrested. And then this after his home got raided before he actually got arrested.
He did an interview after that?
Well, he wanted to do one, but he asked for a deposit, and I'm like, I'm probably not going to see this because he's probably going to get arrested. And I was right. So Keffe technically,
this nigga's not making it to the interview.
Yeah, and I was right. I heard he also did the same shit with Art of Dialogue. I heard he was hitting up all the interview platforms and just.
Hey, yo, I need all the deposits right now. This is bail money. What's the problem?
It is what it is, man.
Holy shit!
I always, when doing that, I always try to work with an amount. Especially if someone's interviewed with us before, I try to say, well, if I give you $1,000, I've made, let's say, $20,000 from the other interviews. So if I lose it, whatever. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. But when you talk about $100,000, the amount that I can't lose, like whatever, the money I gave to Keffe, the money I gave to the other guy I mentioned to you, if they run off with it, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I still own footage. I could flash it back, whatever else. But $100,000, like the OJ situation, I couldn't stomach that because, like I said, he could have just walked out. He probably wouldn't have, but someone who, take 75 up front, 25 in the back end.
Did you know he was suffering from cancer?
No, I didn't know that.
I think he kept that pretty close to
probably. He's an older guy though, you know.
Yeah, there was rumors about his health at the center, but he kind of denied a lot of that. Wow.
Yeah, you know something? I remember. Someone said this just about karma. Like, he probably developed that cancer while he was locked up for the Vegas case.
Really?
Yeah. And it was almost like, had he not gone through that, he probably could have gotten it checked early and so forth. And it's a whole spiritual thing about it all, but it is what it is.
How long have we been going for, Leaf? I think, huh? Damn, 3 hours. Yeah, I can sit here and talk to you about a million things for days. Yeah. I love when you're here. I love doing your platform. I'm doing your platform next. Yeah, anything big or important I missed? Anything you got going on?
Not really.
What's up with the podcast with you and Aries Spears?
We tried it because Aries wanted to have me on camera and try to see how it played out. And ultimately, the views were lower than him just being on
just
camera.
His interview, yeah.
For some reason, we've tried a lot of podcasts, having multiple people on camera doing this type of podcast thing, and they always just don't do the numbers that my usual format does. So I'm having to just accept that people watch Vlad TV for the one person in front of the camera.
Yeah, they when I see the title of Vlad TV's talking about this volcanic explosion. I'm like, he's gonna get the guy that first found the volcano. Yeah. Then he's gonna get the guy that knows the story about the 10 people that accidentally fell into, that is your bread and butter. I mean, of course, but obviously we're all trying to expand, so we're trying different formats.
We try new shit, man. For example, Sean Prez is an interviewer who works behind the camera that does very well for my audience. And you try out new shit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is. I mean, I just interviewed Doc Gooden. He was a legendary pitcher for the Mets. Just got his number retired. And he's in the Mets Hall of Fame. Had an insane drug problem, throughout his career. That interview's coming up. I'm trying to think what else. I just interviewed Martin Shkreli.
Oh yeah, I wanted to interview him.
Yeah, that was a wild interview.
No, he does have a hell of a story. You're probably the first biggest platform he's done.
Well, he did Breakfast Club, but before he went to jail.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Since he's got out, he's been out for a while. He's been laying low.
A couple of years. Yeah.
Is he still in house arrest or no?
No, but I think might still be on probation.
Some type of supervised
release. He can't
release.
live in New York City, I believe.
Wow.
So I think he lives in Jersey or something like that. There's certain rules.
It was crazy because people like that, and you tell me Martin Shkreli, or who I did an interview with, the guy who did Firefest. I forgot his name.
I got him coming up actually.
Yeah, these guys.
McFarland.
Yes.
McFarland.
Yeah. These guys always still have a plan to get back to that spot. Do you ever think any of them will ever do it?
Martin Shkreli, I think, is already back there.
You think he's making money again like that? Yeah. How?
He's a smart guy, man.
No, he definitely is true.
This guy is smart because I remember we started talking about stocks.
He used to own a Wu-Tang album.
Yeah, we talked about all that.
I think the Feds got it.
Not exactly. No, he sold it. what happened was when he got arrested, there was, a lot of money having to do with his charges. So what happens is
they wanted to seize everything because they might have to liquidate.
They don't exactly seize it, but they kind of put a bubble around it saying you can't sell it, right? So basically, the Wu-Tang album, his other, his bank accounts, whatever else, he can't liquidate them because it might have to go to whatever, as payback for whatever he gets convicted of. So that was it. He just couldn't sell it for a while, but at the point that he could, he ended up selling it to the Pleaser Dow people for like $1.5 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he actually made a profit off
it. Is he allowed to still be rich? I thought he owed people so bad.
Yeah, absolutely. He can still invest in stocks. He can't be a CEO of a public company.
He can't deal with pharma stuff anymore.
Well, I think there's some limitations, but he could still start his own pharmaceutical company. He just can't be a public company. He can't be the CEO.
So you think he's still a millionaire?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's worth tens of millions still.
You were saying something about him in stocks?
Yeah. So I brought up because he started his own hedge fund at 23, and then it went under, and then he started his own pharmaceutical company that went public. He made like $60 million off of that, and everything else like that. And I was talking to him about there's a company called Renaissance, and they have something called the Medallion Fund, which is considered the greatest money-making machine ever created in all of humankind. So it's basically a group of scientists got together in Long Island, and basically, you could almost consider it like AI, but they created these mathematical formulas to invest in stocks, and the returns, and this started like in 1988, $100 invested in this stock in 1988 would be worth something like $20 million today.
What?
Yeah. Each year would be like 60%, 40%, 50%, 30%, 70%. Every year they're getting high double digit. They're blowing away the S&P by leaps and bounds. Nobody is allowed to invest in this fund who doesn't actually work for the company. It's a closed fund.
Really?
And it's something that's maintained decade after decade. Absolutely unbelievable fucking returns.
So I'm guessing it's not like some publicly listed thing that you can.
You can look up their returns.
Yeah.
I think at one point the last outside investor was bought out, so now no one really even knows the returns. But it's like if this company were to sell. I mean, the founder recently died a few years ago. But Martin was saying that if you count how much that company is worth, he was probably the richest person in the world.
Really?
Yes.
I'm gonna do some research. I seen that title. I didn't click yet.
The company would probably be worth like $300 billion. Think about it, someone would buy it and just, run it themselves. So when he starts he's like, oh yeah, there's other companies like this. He starts just naming off this company, that company, this company, that company. And I remember going through the video and actually looking up the companies, and he was absolutely right. He was naming all the top hedge funds in America. He was just rattling them off. It was wild to hear. And he's
he's a shrewd guy.
He's a shrewd guy. He's working with Trump. He's working with Trump's son, Barron. And he's got his hands in a lot of really
people don't realize. I think one of the reasons, obviously, he had some shady practices that contributed to him to go to jail, but it was a lot of him being public and shit. It felt like he was shitting on people. He was just
villain.
yo,
he embraced the villain thing. And what's interesting,
the SEC was like,
at one
cut
point
that out. Yeah.
when he was on, he made he got arrested. He paid a $5 million bail, so he was still out. I think that's when he did the Breakfast Club interview and stuff like that. And
he did a conversation with me too. He did a conversation with me too on my stream back in 2016, 2017.
He likes being in the mix.
He
likes being in the mix. So what happened was he's on bail. He's on Twitter, and you know how there's a conspiracy theory that Hillary Clinton is actually like a lizard person, and he said, yeah, for everyone thinking that Hillary Clinton's actually a lizard. After her next book signing, I'll pay $5,000 for one of her hairs so I could run it through the lab and see if she's really a human or a lizard.
Damn,
Martin Shkreli just threatened Hillary Clinton, violated his probation, had to sit in jail until the trial. And he was like, it's a joke. Like, come on, who really thinks that she's a lizard? Like, come on, I'm joking.
Yeah, but he was talking too much shit. Yeah,
back in jail. Yeah.
No, I definitely want to get him on the platform. Yeah. Oh shit. All right. So you have a bunch of interviews. Do you ever run out of interviews, or do you have like maybe a couple that
it gets slow sometimes? Yeah. Sometimes we'll go down to like 6 clips a day. That happened earlier in the month, but with the way that we monitor it, remember I told you the system of monitoring the profits and everything else like that, we've gotten better at like, let's just focus on the stuff that works, right? And let's just not just pack out our interviews with just having 10 clips a day and 4 or 5 of them are just doing low numbers. Let's try to really, I'd rather have 6 strong ones than 10 and half of them are weak. You see what I'm saying?
Would you give Taxstone a jail podcast like Sugar?
Me and Taxstone actually still talk. He hit me the other day. He asked me to be on he was like on Twitter Spaces or something like that. And it just so happened that I had an interview with Martin Shkreli that day. So I couldn't do it. But whatever Taxstone needs, man, he could just hit me up and ask. That's my friend, and I feel awful as to what happened to him. And I don't agree with how it went down. So whatever he needs, I will do my best to accommodate.
Okay. All right. I think we kind of got everything. If we didn't get everything, we'll get it next time, or you'll be able to catch it on Vlad TV's platform, because that motherfucker come with a laptop full of notes. Yo, if you ever get an interview by Vlad, and Vlad's listening to you, but Vlad knows exactly what you said about this already on public record, and he'll be like, wait, hold on. You said before, like, Vlad is like epic with that, which that's what people think is police, but it's like, no, that's just kind of being good at knowing what the fuck you said. I just need you to repeat on my platform, unless you're lying. And if you're lying, tell me the real story. What the fuck? Like, that's called content. All right, man. Listen, thank you guys for watching. Vlad, anything else you want to promote? You want to push?
Man, just check me out on my YouTube channel. We're also on Spotify now, so you can actually watch the videos, the full videos on Spotify. And there's a membership, so if you get a membership on Spotify, it's the same thing as getting a membership on YouTube. So you could actually watch the stuff early. We're also on Apple, although that's only on the audio. We're also on Amazon, and we're on Snapchat. We're on Facebook.
Hey, by the way, Vlad, I ain't gonna lie. You fucked up me giving you a car tour, a house tour. Because after I seen the motherfuckers you gave a tour to, I'm like, I ain't about to put my shit on there. Yo, they're balling. Yo, I seen Vanilla Ice. They're balling on that bitch. Oh, I seen even my man Big Baller LeVar Ball. I'm like, hell no.
Grant Cardone showed me his $40 million Malibu mansion.
Yo,
he sent it on everybody.
Hey, by the way, that's another thing I didn't give you credit for. I love watching your Grant Cardone interviews. Interviews like that are it gets you to think, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're in that space of thinking about, financial freedom and how to really do stuff. It's very informative.
You should watch the Martin Shkreli interview also, because there's a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm definitely going to watch that. But I watched the Grant Cardone when I'm like, Jesus Christ, this motherfucker is rich.
Yeah, that was the first time me and him did an interview in person.
How much you wanted for the crib? Like $60 million?
Well, he would sell it for 65.
Jesus.
But he bought it for 40. And he spends $500,000 a year just in property taxes. It's wild. And he's never there. He hasn't been there in a year. Yeah, we all aspire to that type of money. We all aspire. We're not there yet. Me and Ak are still hustling.
Yeah, we still hustling out here, man. But anyway, listen, for everybody watching, please go check out my man Vlad TV. Yeah. This is the OG of the game. I keep telling y'all, the media game and the media landscape has been completely shaped by independent media, and Vlad TV has been 100% completely a blueprint. He's been an amazing person. He's never been a hater. He's been somebody who has embraced everybody, helped everybody out. I love every time I could be on your platform. I'm glad that you return the favor. I'm glad we have a friendship outside of this. Yes. And listen, if this wasn't enough for you guys, you're gonna catch me next time on Vlad TV.
Yeah.
All right, my man.
Perfect.